No, it's okay. We're gonna get the mercury out of the vaccines and the lead back in the paint. America's gonna be healthy again.
Listen, I'm kind of convinced that's what gave me my talents, so I'm a little upset.
In the first aeon, I was the Great Spirit. In the second aeon, men knew me as the Horned God, Pangenitor, Panphage. In the third aeon, I was the Dark One, the Devil. In the fourth aeon, men knew me not, for I am the Hidden One. In the fifth aeon, I appeared before you as Baphomet, the God before all gods who shall endure to the end of the earth. In this new aeon, I appear to you as CMN.
Imagine that there is a brilliant white light just above.
Is commentary on the magic art.
In the years of the primal force and the dawn of terrestrial birth.
Oh, that was very educational.
Now magic will take place. Don't be fooled by what I just said.
Welcome everyone. I am Selective Memory Kennedy, and this is Chaos Magic News, the objectively best occult podcast on the net today. Joining me, as always, is my X and Y co-host, Occult and Pop Culture Reference. How you doing, Occult and Pop Culture Reference?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Also
ready
joining
to get
us
another
is...
one in the... Oh, okay. Never. Just jumping right to it.
Sorry.
No. We're speed running this one.
Also joining us is friend of the show, wonderful person, artist, and all sorts of other things.
No.
You want to give him the intro? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Give the intro.
Yeah, I was going to say,
right.
I don't think he's introducing me.
You gotta sell this, man. All right. So who we have today is a friend of the show and all-around artistic and occult dynamo, Toziel Obscurus. How you doing, Toz?
Golly, and you flatter me so. I'm doing great now, thank you.
Well, how do you think we get people on the show? We just say nice things about you, and we lie, and we kiss
Don't make
ass.
me open up our message history.
We have been trying to get Toz on for a hot minute now. I know at one point we plugged Toziel's tarot deck on the socials, and it wasn't one of those like, oh, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. We just thought it was really fucking dope.
Yeah, it's sitting on my desk right now. I've been using it all week.
Yeah, I can see mine on the shelf right now, and it's just, but yeah, but Toziel is like I said, I'm not exaggerating when I say artistic dynamo. An incredible talent, a very fascinating individual, someone who I think is unique in that they seem to just be able to rattle off all of this information at just the drop of a hat. Also, someone very immersed in sort of a modern Gnostic philosophy. Is that a good way of putting it?
I would say so. Not quite modern. You say modern Gnosticism, a lot of people think Carl Jung or whatever the fuck it is today. It's
the
all
Matrix.
Over the place. Yeah, this aliens and whatever it is.
Anunnaki, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, thank you. That's it. The lizard people. I met them. They're pretty okay. I don't think they are the archons we can show.
They're getting a bad rap.
They are.
If I could throw something at you, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but you're a Gnostic in the way that someone like Harold Bloom, I think, is like a Gnostic. Like, you're someone that's very steeped in the literature of it. You're someone that's very deep in the tradition, but you have very modern sensibilities in some ways. I'll put it like that, we'll say.
That is half accurate. We say modern sensibilities. The one thing I'm going to challenge everyone on here, in this podcast right now, we do things and believe things that defy the sensibility. We have a practical application to it. I'm not big on the whole, let's make a secular, sensible excuse for these things that we say and do and believe. But that is probably as close to an accurate definition as you can get. If there was one Gnostic thinker that was probably most influential on me, it was probably Stephen Holler. who is
Oh,
original
Heller, yeah.
gangster Gnostic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, in a
man.
modern sense. He's still kicking. And, I do want to make it out to Los Angeles before something happens.
Wait. Stephen Holler is still alive?
Yeah, he's still technically the head of the
Then why
Gnostic.
won't he return my calls?
He did the same thing to me. I called, I mean, all right, I'm not going to name drop. I called, and he had this dude answered, and he answered like a Little Caesars ad. I mean, it reminded me of that. You remember Pizza? And I thought I called the wrong number. I stop and stare at the phone. It's like, wait, who did I call? And then, I'm getting ready to hang up, and then I hear the guy on the other line. He's like, wait, I was just kidding. Hang on, who is this? It's like, I'm sorry, I was trying to reach Stephen Holler. And, no, I just wanted to send him some nice things for him to have. That was all. I've never actually spoken to the guy, but I mean, it was like, you know what, this guy busted his ass off for Gnosticism for goodness, a half century. It's like, let's give him something nice. Stephen Holler was a major contributor to my understanding on all of that. Some of the more modern ones, not so much. And I don't want to name names. I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but I mean, a lot of the more modern Gnostic speakers, I mean, I'm just not very big on. I don't resonate.
You have not listened to enough of the show. We're all about dragging people down to our level and beating them with experience.
I know.
No.
No, but this wasn't where we were going originally with this, but I just have to ask because you kind of shoot away Jung a little bit there, but Heller's incredibly big on Jung. I remember when I first got into him, he wrote the Gnostic Jung had just come out.
No, I mean, make no mistake, I love Carl Jung. My issue with it is, and it's not even his fault. There's this thing that we have in a very modern secular culture that wants to believe 15 pounds is 15 pounds, and as long as we just call it 15 pounds, that's all it is. We're seeing that these very hyper-secular people want something to believe in, which, okay. But then when it comes time to suspend that ego and disbelief, they start defaulting to things in a Jungian language, and then this thing becomes something that is far removed from the source of what even made that. So me shying away from Jung doesn't really have anything to do with Jung whatsoever. It's more that I don't like what this snowballed into.
Oh, right.
A Robert Anton Wilson snippet here. I'm going to paraphrase him, but I remember him in Cosmic Trigger talking about his fondness for Wilhelm Reich, but then saying something to the effect of like, but every Reichian that I've met have been some of the most boring people I have ever met in my life.
Well, and then you see, let's get our hands dirty a little bit. Let's talk about Christianity, and there's a million things to say there. And I could say a million things about even just the things we believe here, the three of us. But let's stop and look at what made Christianity. I mean, for one, it was a Jewish heresy, no question.
Mm-hmm.
But then along comes a skinny little carpenter from the backwoods of Nazareth. And he says all of these beautiful things that resonate well. They ring true. And these little shits that followed after him don't believe a fucking word of it. But
Right.
This is how all of that turns out. And I think it was you guys I was talking to. I explained, like, let's look at it from the Kabbalistic perspective. Everything has a seed in Kether. Now, eventually, it's going to descend that entire tree of life and then come down to Malkuth. And Malkuth, whatever Kether believed, Malkuth ends up being the practical expression of that. And so somewhere in that tree, the shit gets lost along the way, and then what happens in Malkuth, we got to go back to Kether.
Yes.
Let's get back to the source of it and refine it all one more time. And, we see that, but I mean, these days I'm just seeing it go in very weird directions across the board.
Yeah. Specifically with Christianity, there's always something very much to be said about let's call it as it is. Like, Christianity as we have it now is the seed of that was not Christ it's not Christ per se, it's Paul, right?
Paul, yeah, I would say so. Once they formalized into a church, a lot of this it sounds inspired by Christ, but then you read Paul and his application of these things, this sounds very brimstone and hellfire Paul once we start, really looking at it.
And not even just that. There's the thing that you're railing against, right? This move to a secular culture. You can find that in this first major shift, because like you said, where does Christianity start? It's ultimately, a Judaic heresy, right? We can argue about the tinges of where, how far that goes there. But Paul is the one that manages to take that and bring it to the Gentiles, really. He's the person that takes it, saying that, no, this is not just like a Jewish cultural offshoot. This is for everybody. And before that, you don't quite have religion in the same way. Religion is incredibly cultural. It still is, obviously, but because you can argue all day about Christians being the same. But if you look at a Russian Orthodox person and you look at a American evangelical, these are radically different religions
entirely.
Right? But there's still like a source here where it goes from being something about like a metaphysical expression that relates to like a people and becomes something that relates to humanity as a whole.
And I would agree with that entirely. But that's the thing. We see that happen. It's not even terribly unique to Christianity.
No.
Just consider occultism. Baphomet started as one thing. Now today it's for very upset people most of the time.
Well, even chaos magic, Peter Carroll and Lieber Knoll has this whole rearticulation of Baphomet, as it were. It's like, talking about Baphomet as sort of like the anima mundi, the world soul, or something akin to that, or and describing it as sort of like the representative of all of these, of like sort of the collective Kia of the planet, that sort of thing. So it's definitely this idea that it starts in one spot and then over time just gets morphed and morphed and morphed and morphed. And I think what you said earlier, using the Kabbalistic metaphor of like, there's always the seed at something we could argue as like, here's the source, here's the, and you can use source to mean like, well, here's like where it starts in like history, space-time, that sort of thing, or you can mean it in sort of a more abstracted, spooky sort of way. But you're going to watch these ideas begin somewhere, and then as they have to take shape in a practical sense of like what is actually going on in the world, it gets dirty. That's when things get messed up. And I won't even say messed up like it's necessarily a bad thing, but just for something to come to fruition in a real tangible way, it is always going to become corrupted or morphed from the original idea. And that's sort of like, even if you're sitting down with like an artistic idea of like, I want to do a painting or something like that, it's that joke of like, it's never going to look as good as that inkling in your head. It's because you're forced to bring it into the world and things get messy.
I had to explain that to, do you guys remember Ecclesia Babylon?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
By any chance?
We're familiar.
Yeah, I was very good friends with their de facto leader for a while. And, we could think what we think about what happened and why and so on. I was talking to him and even some of the members. How could this happen, this and that? And I told him, it's like, because at some point, Kether becomes Malkuth. You have the theory in your head, and then it goes through the practical application. Lest we forget, we are in a world of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Down here when, we're raking our fingers through the dung, hoping for the best. So no matter how good your idea is, it has to touch ground. We take the idea of an esoteric order, even if it's just entirely sacramental. We have relived this story probably more times than we can even have on record on what happens with these things. The Rosicrucians used to be a very devout order. Now you go and sit with them, and it sounds like a bored housewife giving a yoga class.
Oh, yeah.
This is kind of what ends up happening.
Well, it's the same thing that happens with bringing Eastern religions into the West, right? It starts out as the Tathagata explaining how to follow the Noble Eightfold Path, and it ends in chakra charts on your freaking yoga studio wall and some guy who's banging someone's wife teaching a class that tells you nothing.
Yep. And that's kind of it. It's these things, and it's not always a good thing when Malkuth goes back to Kether. Sometimes it's better for these things to just die, if we're entirely honest. Because, I mean, let's take an idea. I was talking about this on another show recently. We were talking about the idea of karma and how we had a system that we could understand. And then, it comes across the ocean here into the West. And it gets turned into this ridiculous fucking thing where it says you must have done something bad so a bad thing happened to you. And it's like, and why? Why? And it's like, maybe it happened in a past life. It's like, okay, so I'm going to get punished for something I can't even consciously recall, can't consciously repent for, can't consciously make amends for, because cosmic justice, and we're not going to call that petty. It's like, this is even more ridiculous than a very Abrahamic punishment theory. At least in that, I know what I did, why I'm getting my ass handed to me, and then my course of penance. It's like, and we did this in the name of self-empowerment. We turn this, we make this very ambiguous punishment theory. It's like, no, it was better off not said at all.
And then you can take that into the new age, like, one thing I've wanted to bring this up on the show, and there's never been a good time or a good conversation, but like, have you guys ever heard of this sort of new age idea of the soul contract, where before you went to Earth and incarnated, you knew everything that was going to happen to you and all this. So the idea is that when anything bad happens,
bullshit.
Yeah.
I told them no. They sent my
said I didn't want to go.
Like, I said, fuck you and your contract.
I'm not signing this. No. I was in the otherworldly HR, and I was like, dude, I'm not signing this shit. I mean, I need to get an attorney to read it first. And they're like, no, sorry, this is your severance package. But yeah.
Yeah, I said, no, I have already walked through the pearly gates. Leave me the fuck alone. It's like being called up by the union. Hey, guess what? You're out of retirement. Go back to work. It's like, no, I'm not. Your spine is shattered. It's like, no, good. That's part of your karma, they'll say.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Well, and it's we bang on the Kabbalion all the goddamn time too. So, but I'll just throw it in there. It's the whole your thoughts and your in like a very gross sense, like your thoughts, like the things you're thinking about every single day are manifesting in your life. So it's like, it's your fault that the terrible thing happened to you because you're fretting about the idea of something bad happening to you. It's just like, that doesn't...
Well, and then you see, and then I challenge these little shits, these little new age fuckers, all right? And it's like, okay, so what was the karma of the guy that was politely sitting at the stoplight, on his way to pick up his kids from school, and he gets rear-ended by an 18-wheeler? What was his karma? What was his kids' karma? What did they do that, this 18-wheeler was justified in this jackassy cosmic system that you've concocted and pulled out of your ass? It gives excuse, because it gives this false sense of agency, this false sense of control for things that it's almost entirely narcissistic. Oh, this happened because I agreed to it before I reincarnated. It's like, the fuck you, no you didn't.
Well, and it's also it's worse because it's like, on one hand it can be this sort of pseudo empowering, very egoic standpoint of like, oh, I'm responsible for everything going on. But on another hand, it's very much like, this is your fault. It's whenever you complain or when you say, oh man, these really fucked up things happen to me, rather than maybe like a slightly better response of like, well, yeah, you sometimes you have to accept that you don't have control of situations and you need to learn how to work with it and roll with the punches, accept what you can't do anything about and try to make the best of it. Instead, it goes, no, you don't understand. This was your fault. You brought this on yourself. Didn't you signed the contract, or, in a past life, you were a real bad guy, so instead of like 15 years or 15 lifetimes as a tiger or something like that, no, you got the lifetime where like you went out and got hit by a bus and now you can't walk, ever again.
Well, and then on the flip side here, because this is the thing that probably drives me more insane because it's my people doing it. It's those fucking archons every fucking time. It's all the archons. And it's just like, this is kind of the bear trap of things. we're looking for reasons for why this, that, the other happened. And, we'll blame karma, we'll blame an archon, we'll blame some fucking star doing something. And, maybe all of these things are a little bit accurate. Maybe. But then, especially what I see in a lot of the Gnostic communities, and I don't mean the ones that are actually scholarly. I mean, the guys that jump on YouTube and are making some clickbait about evil overlords and some such.
Let me reveal Yaldabaoth.
Right. Then suddenly everything is an archon's fault. And then, that's even worse.
Well, because it's just the devil did it with extra steps.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. Now we've gone from it's this karmic initiator to an archon to this devil made me do it. And it's like, so then what is anyone really looking for out of any of this? And, I say anyone, I know there's plenty of us here that are very sincere when we do and deal with and study all of these things. Then it's like, let's stop and examine our motivations. You don't want control over anything, or maybe you do, but what you're really doing when you do all of this is revoking any responsibility you have for anything happening in your life. Whenever we invoke any of this. Now, all of these things are very helpful things. Everyone here uses them to a point. I'm an astrologer. I'm a Gnostic. I pull tarot cards. I make tarot cards. I believe a lot of this. But then what happens when these become the thing to crucify, to say that this is why everything is wrong? It's like, well, then you've just surrendered all of your power and your potential to grow through these things. But thank goodness you didn't have to be responsible. And I think it's probably the biggest disservice that any of these things could do.
And in a strange light too, it's almost this. You might as well be a secular. You might as well be a materialist atheist if that was your notion, because then you can just fall back on the universe as an indifferent rush of chemical and physical reactions, and no one's responsible for anything, and bad shit just happens.
Yeah, you can be what's his name, Robert Sapolsky. That guy, he wrote that whole book about how free will is a complete illusion, and he's a big neuroscientist guy. You know who I'm talking about?
No. No.
Well, the only thing I do know is that
I give you his entire argument.
What? Hold on. What's the guy's name?
Sapolsky.
Sapolsky. Okay, between Sapolsky and Yaldabaoth, I am gonna kick ass at the Scrabble tournament later. 400-word score.
That was too funny. I forgot what I was gonna say.
I think we're kind of circling back to the same thing. Why do people not just what are not just their motivations, but what's the sort of cultural background baggage that brings people to that, right? Because you've noticed.
Well, I can answer that.
Oh, please do.
I mean, I can answer that fairly definitively. Well, I can at least answer it from where I usually sit. So, I mean, I sell my artwork. I sell the tarot decks. I flip cards. I read natal charts. I cast all kinds of charts for all kinds of things. Now, this is probably going to blow both of your minds. Most of my customer base sits in one of two camps, and they are very far removed from each other at surface value. I get a lot of the LGBTQ community as customers, whether they're buying art or readings or whatever. On the other side of that, I get these guys, whether they're very young men or 45, 50 somethings that are divorced and very unhappy and have at least a toe in the water of the Andrew Tate pool kind of people, that all of them love my shit.
No, I can see that.
And then what are these, because it was really perplexing me. And it's like, these are very different people, but they all resonate with these things that I'm doing and dealing with, whether it's the art, the tarot deck itself, whatever. And then everyone that buys the deck, they all see something different. Something I hear a lot of, it's a very queer deck. I hear, finally, it's a very manly deck. I hear all kinds of, it's like, this is the most beautiful deck, I'll hear some of the women say. It's like, what do all of them have in common? All of these people, and the only thing I can come up with is dissatisfaction. There is something about the material condition that is not okay. And it's like, and on one hand, that is kind of the seed that sends us out into anything we do here, whether it's magic, sacramentalism, any of these big tent of things that we use to start putting these things in perspective. So if you were to ask me what is the one thing that sends these guys there, it's dissatisfaction, 100%, a need for answers. Now, what they do with that, I mean, that'll be up to all of them. But I would say that's probably the major motivation.
Well, right, and that's like the number one.
All right, point me to the Bodhi tree. I mean, that's what it is, though.
Yeah, well, and that's the sort of the natural position of the modern secular world, right? Is that we are all alienated. We have lost the major grounds of meaning that used to sustain us. Whether, I'm not making the argument, this isn't like a trad argument. Like, I'm not saying like, oh God, things were so much better when everyone believed in the gods and was pious and all that kind of shit. I don't mean like that. But there was these large grounds of meaning that we used to have in earlier periods where you didn't go and find a crazy wacky Yahoo on the internet to show you his art and his tarot cards and tell you like, oh, hey, well, this is what your natal chart says. You had a larger cultural apparatus that was not just a singular type of individual pursuit of it. It was a shared kind of cultural understanding that everyone was a part of.
And you see, and that's a big thing to talk about here, because we've been gradually trying to erase ideas of meaning,
right,
from everywhere. And, whatever you think about religion or this or that, is like these things served a very important purpose. We start revoking these ideas of religion, magic, spirituality, sacramentalism, and they all are bred in the same pool. All of these things. You start removing that, then you're just left with the cold gravity of the world. And it's a control mechanism. You start removing these things and create a secular world. It's like, okay, we've taken away their God. Now let's replace their God. What God do we put in its place? Maybe it's the state. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's your boss.
Maybe it's just money.
Maybe it's just money. Which, I mean, I've never wrapped my head around, because it's like, if you had all the money in the world and nothing you wanted to buy, then money's worthless. But
Tell that to
anyway.
Bezos. He bought Vogue.
But you fucking for real?
For his wife.
It goes back to that dissatisfaction thing too, because it's also that game of like, nothing will, it's not going to be satiated. If you have more money, you will find more things to buy. It's just how it goes.
But then you revoke all of that. Let's say now your God is free 2-day shipping. Now your God is infinite content on demand, and it doesn't cost you anything but an internet connection.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've taken things that can sustain you, and we've replaced it with this garbage. I mean, let's get real for a minute. I know all of us here participate on social media. I fucking hate it.
Oh yeah, it's brutal.
I want to light it on fire and walk away. It's like, no, you got to keep posting so the algorithm likes you. It's like, fuck the algorithm. I don't want it to like me. It's like, no, I'll post when I have something to say. And so then think of how that works. Then you get to keep up with this algorithm, and then you're essentially worshiping it as if it's a god that has the power to condemn you to the abyss of no reach.
Yeah.
And now we're all beheld by these just jackassy secular ideas of something to worship. We get the same compulsion, but it's applied to something that's never going to help you, never going to love you, and never going to redeem you. That was my soapbox.
I mean, the problem is I'm just furious at how correct you are, because it's like I said it before the show. My cell phone got broken like 4 days ago, and I just got it replaced. And it was one of those things where it's like, man, the only thing that was on my mind about it was like, man, it's a bummer that people can't get a hold of me, but like, there's ways. But the thing I was thinking is like, shit, man, our social media is going to go to shit.
And I mean, isn't that just such a shitty thing? It's like, I could be drafting a very interesting theory about this or that. I can be experimenting with this theory, but I got to post some bullshit about cats.
Yeah, I got to have a meme out there.
It's like, who in the absolute fuck thought this was okay? But here, I mean, I know that got, kind of hopeless, and we all got to wade in our miseries with that for a minute. But I mean, but then consider that even in Gnosticism, they don't say these false gods are all and forever and everything. They even show you the way out. Are you too familiar with Noria by any chance?
I'm not.
So Noria was the perfect daughter of Eve. So came time for the world to be flooded. You know, we know that story. And Noria is in despair, and the Archons are encircling her, and they're telling her, so you know what, you need to please us the way that your mother did before you. And Noria, she's not interested in taking their shit. And she's like, no, my mom never served you, this and that, and blah, 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 blah. And the Archons, they double down and say, no, this is your place. You will worship us. And, you know, I'm saying worship. If anyone's very curious, go read the book. It was something else that they wanted. But, you know, I'm pretty sure this is a family show. I couldn't do that with a straight face, sorry.
The name is Seaman, for God's sakes. Oh, God, don't die.
But then what happens, what does Noria do? She recognizes the bullshit of her situation. And she pleads to God. It's like, this can't be it. Please help me. So God sends an angel, which the story probably sounds familiar to you guys. And this angel terrifies the Archons. They scatter like fucking cockroaches in the light. And then this angel explains to Noria, no, this is your condition. This is what it should be. Go and do this thing instead, and you'll be okay. And that's kind of it. We are bombarded with bullshit that we think we need to be doing, and it's going to help us, and it's going to fulfill us, and we're going to, you know, piss lemonade and shit gold. But let's face facts. A lot of these things that we've been conditioned to entertain have been made easier for us to access for a reason, incentivize compulsive behavior for a reason, and now this is kind of that central pillar that's holding up all social interaction. And I don't think anyone's prepared for what happens when this pillar is decided is worthless.
I mean, you can
chills.
say that about
I got
so many
fucking
things.
chills.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, man.
We could go on for another hour and a half about this, so let's roll it on. That's a good half hour right there. That's your good intro topic. Let's roll on into the news then. All right, now it's time for everyone's favorite segment.
That's right. It's when we roll up our sleeves, we straighten our ties, and we invoke journalistic excellence. And we ask ourselves, what's in the news?
This bit is an Archon. What is in the news, indeed?
Okay, where do we want to start? Well, you know, we'll start with like more
I was going
real
to say,
news.
I mean, I don't even watch or read the news, and I know what's in the news.
It's kind of all anyone's talking about still, really.
All right,
we already covered it in the last episode, but it's not going away, so I might be wrong about it, in my opinion, in that last episode.
Donald Trump sues Murdoch for $10 billion over Wall Street Journal story on Epstein birthday letter. So basically, like the idea is that Trump sent a lewd sort of birthday letter card, whatever, to Epstein on his 50th birthday, and so that's like 2003. So still, this is like something that happened over 20 years ago, but Trump is really not happy because it simply draws more and more attention to this list that doesn't exist, this weird sex trafficking ring that was going on, and all of these clients and everything else. So he's going both guns blazing here, where it's like, all right, I'm just going to sue the shit out of you, so you shut up about it. But Streisand effect, right?
Well, I mean, and he did it to no one but himself. I mean,
oh yeah,
I don't care if you like him or hate him. It's like, this was you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is 100%.
All you had to do was release this list that, you know, existed until it didn't, until it did again. I mean, if he wanted to cut the head off this snake, I mean, there's no one better equipped to do it than him.
He could have gotten out in front of it.
It's like, release it. What does it say? Maybe he was never at the island. I have no idea, and I'm not going to speculate. I really don't. And maybe you were on his plane. Okay, what were you doing on his plane? It's like, why do you want to dance around this now? After this was a campaign topic for you, releasing this fucking list.
Right. Like, this was a thing.
Now, I mean, in the interest of transparency, I'm a political atheist. I don't fucking vote, and I'm not sorry. So, I mean, I know a lot of people are going to get upset about that, but I really don't care. I mean, I'm old enough to know that this shit does not make a difference. I mean, this year especially, though, I mean, let's consider everything Trump could have been. And, I mean, we don't have to raise the bar too high. He may have been slightly more peace than Kamala. It's like, okay, that got shot to sunshine. And he could have released this list that no one else was interested in a very meaningful way. It's like, okay, and you shot that to sunshine. And the dude's toast. And you guys want to know the sick, sad truth, though? It doesn't matter.
Right.
Period.
100%.
He is a lame duck president. He doesn't have to do a fucking thing. All he has to do is stay alive.
That's true.
And this was the thing, because, I got friends that are right of center. I have friends that are left of center, and none of them could understand why I stayed home. Now, you guys probably remember every astrologer was saying Kamala's going to win. Kamala's going to win. Bullshit. They saw Jupiter on her ascendant and they got all excited. It's like, I don't give a fuck what's on her descendant. Look what happens when Mars goes stationary in her chart before it goes retrograde. And it's like, this is right there in her day-to-day. She's going to start talking like a dumbass. And sure as shit, she did. And then even before that, when it was Biden, I mean, the sick, sad truth is Trump stood a better chance against Biden. Or pardon me, Biden had a better chance against Trump astrologically than Kamala to Trump. But I mean, they saw that Jupiter on the ascendant bullshit and they got excited. It's like, well, no, I mean, Jupiter, it's not the Messiah, it's Jupiter. Trump, he had it solidly in his his 10th house. And, it was doing infinitely better things for him than Kamala. And it's like, you look at Kamala's chart, it's like, I'm seeing you even have a lot of background support. And I couldn't get in my car and turn on the radio without hearing a Kamala ad. So I was like, how did she lose? And I was deliberately tuning out the elections. So it was like, so what happened right around the time Mars went stationary for her? It's like she started talking like a dumbass the whole time. It's like she didn't need to say anything. All she had to do was let Trump talk. That's how Trump slaughtered Hillary back in, what was that, 2016?
Yeah,
2016.
Yeah.
It's like, just let her talk. Trump didn't even have to make it about anything real. It was Hillary. It's like, whatever you think of Trump, I mean, Hillary's probably as bad in different ways. And no one learned from that. And so everyone's like, oh no, it's brimstone and hellfire. It's like, I mean, but is it really? When I say that, no, I see all the terrible things he's done in this country. And, I'm not going to just say, oh, that's not so bad, because it has been terrible. On a lot of the things that matter, Kamala's not much different. It's like, it did not matter.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the number one thing we kept pointing out. It's like, when Biden got elected, obviously, it's like, most of the horrible things that people were really up in arms about on the left, child camps, the encroachment of basically all civil liberties, bodily autonomy, trans rights, anything that you want to pick on that side, none of those things were thwarted by a Biden presidency. And that's because there was no chance of them being thwarted by a Biden presidency. It wasn't, the sad reality of it is these people mostly applauded that sort of stuff. They just didn't like how it's like, well, you're not supposed to say it out loud. You're not supposed to say all the terrible things we think out loud. What's wrong with you?
But now what we're dealing with now in terms of, like, we can talk about, like, oh, the election that could have been, or like this stood a chance here, or talk, we've always harped on the Democratic Party, particularly the establishment Democratic Party's unwillingness and utter incompetence to do anything meaningful except go against their progressive contemporaries. But if we're talking about right now, Trump had what should have been a layup.
Right.
He could have said, hey, here's the list. Here it is. You know what? I know that I'm on this plane, but, he probably could have gotten in front of all these people, said, yeah, I was on the plane. I just stopped in for a beer, and then I left. I wasn't there for any of the P. Diddy freak-off shit. Like he could have said that and they would have believed him. Like anybody who was like in his camp would have been like, you know what? If he had anything to hide, he wouldn't have put out the list. That is really
he was an agent. He was going and investigating is what he was on the plane for.
Yeah, he was Alex Jones at Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, exactly.
You see, I mean, this is the thing. I know everyone likes to get excited about elections because it gives them an agency of control, like we were talking about earlier.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to be that prick and say it's entirely fucking naive. Do you really think the military-industrial complex and every last tentacle of that is going to suddenly change its mind because of an election result? It's never happened.
I mean, as pretty staunch lefties, you know, Das Kapital kind of decides what's going on, you know? It doesn't.
And that's exactly it. We don't get to tell the egregore what to do anymore. I mean, this beast is bigger than any of us. The problem is just a system. Because, I mean, let's look at Trump. Now he's sending weapons to Ukraine. Whatever anyone thinks about that, you know, that was his big thing. This war is going to stop day one of my presidency. And here we are, 6 months later? Yeah, almost 6 months to the day, I think.
Yep.
And we've never been closer to World War III. He didn't, I mean, there's no stopping this beast. And even if he was sincere, even if, you know, and, you know, I'm a benefit of the doubt kind of guy. I'm not giving him virtues that he doesn't have. I mean, what are you really going to do against an entire military-industrial complex that says, no, bombs are going to drop?
No. This has to happen.
Yeah, the bombs have to go out.
And now that we've been here 6 months, when was it, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? We decided by executive order, we dropped bombs in Iran.
Right.
No declaration of war. I mean, this sounds familiar, and the same people are as excited as they were 20 years ago.
Yep.
And these aren't things that change very easily. And then, you know, I'm not just jumping on the Republicans. Obama wasn't much better on foreign policy. Neither was Biden.
No, not
drone
at all.
strike, drone strike.
The beast wants to eat. It's like, and make no mistake, we've made a beast. I mean, this is all a very systemic problem that doesn't give a fuck how I vote, but thank God I participated.
I got my little sticker. It said I voted.
Yeah, exactly. You get a sticker.
You get a sticker. You do get a sticker.
I think in another sense, right? It is that sort of, it's that same problem, which is why all of the public outrage surrounding this list is not really going to make a difference. Like, sure, the story isn't going away. It hasn't been swept under the rug, but Trump has basically, and it makes me wonder if, you know, because we're talking about it's just him on the list. I mean, think of how many of his backers, how much of how much of this system that is propping him up, how much of this system that is propping up the America, as it were, has a vested interest in this list never seeing the light of day. And, you know, like, even if you wanted to argue that there's not like a black book that just has everybody's names in it, you mean to tell me that the most sophisticated surveillance state that has ever existed can't figure out who the fuck was going where? You know,
well, not even that. You can't tell me that the guy who had like an entire freaking, you know, just island wired up with cameras and recording equipment so he could have every single person that he brought there to do, I don't know, maybe they're playing Parcheesi. I don't fucking know, but you know what they're fucking doing. Every person there where did all these tapes go? Where did all of this stuff go? It's just gone? You can't watch them?
Well, you know what this is going to be from now on? I mean, from now on, this Epstein list, you know, there's a few things that get trotted out and were teased when the masses risk getting a little upset about, you know, their living conditions. And it's been two things. They trot out, they dangle in front of people like a carrot. It's the Kennedy files.
Bingo.
And the alien files. And they never release a fucking thing. They do this gigantic document dump and there's never anything in there. It's just looks like a bunch of shit they randomly decided to say, okay, these are the Kennedy files, these are the alien files. Ooh, let's make this one Kennedy and alien file. That'll get them
They probably
really
got
excited.
ChatGPT putting them out for them now too on top of it.
But that's the thing. If you're this big, secretive, monstrous beast, and I'm not going to apologize for calling, you know, this system, it's a fucking beast. if you're this, are you really going to roll onto your back and expose your vital organs for transparency? I mean, why?
Over public outrage? Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
why?
Yeah.
It's so I don't think these files were ever going to be released. Their motivations for saying I have the list right here, oh, just kidding. I couldn't even guess, if I'm entirely honest, because they were screaming about these files all campaign season. And then here came the moment of truth. They did nothing with it until they said, oh yeah, we'll do something with it. And I guess they're not doing it with it again. It's like, it's as confusing as trying to keep up with the tariff bullshit.
Oh yeah,
It's driving me nuts because I'm going to have to reorder this tarot deck soon. But that's just it. It's more bullshit. And I'm not saying the contents of whatever the truth of this isn't important. I think it's incredibly important.
But that's why you're never going to see it.
And that's the problem. You don't ask, I mean, you can ask the competing team to seat their best player, but they're going to laugh in your face.
Yeah.
They're not going to willingly handicap their authority. It comes back to this thing that I was talking about in the word I'm going to drop. We were talking about, worship these new gods that we have given you. This is just one more false idol.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mean the files themselves. It's like this entire thing it's never going to save you. It's never going to love you. It's never going to take care of you. It's going to eat you. And these are the people that you end up voting for. And they end up defending this.
Meanwhile, the list doesn't come out. More money goes to Israel so they can provoke more of this lovely World War III scenario that's going on. More guns to Ukraine. It's just whatever the beast wants,
Oh, and it will eat. It doesn't give a shit who gets elected.
Yeah, why does military spending never fucking go down? Why does military never go down no matter who is in office?
And you see, that's the sickest thing about it. Here, let me tell you. Because I know Europe likes to get up in arms about the United States. It's like, oh, you don't take care of your people. You don't have any socialized medicine there. They're all starving and poor, and they're busting their ass off to maybe break even on a good week. And I was like, but that's the problem. A lot of these countries are codependent on the United States being this thing. I don't like Trump. I don't like Vance, but when they told Europe, you're benefiting from this too, they weren't wrong.
No, they were 100%
Whatever you
correct.
think of Trump and Vance, they were 100% correct. This is bigger than the United States. Like, you all benefit from this, and it's fucking gross.
Yeah, this is the empire. That's what this is. It's the empire never ended, buddy.
Nope. Change capitals, though.
Yeah.
Hey,
there you go.
We still got the eagle, though. The one thing I'll throw back just to get to the headline again itself, it's whoever thought that a sitting Republican president would be suing the Murdochs. That's kind of funny, like just in a gross way. Like, got what's coming to you, I guess.
It makes me think of I like Chris Hyatt a lot. I've made that no secret. But Chris Hyatt, when he talks about the psychopaths that run the world, it's like these people play a very different game than you and I. This is borderline flirting with them. It's like, oh, you better not. I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna sue you. And it's like, oh, you wouldn't dare.
Well, and it's sort of the thing we talked about on the show the other day about how things like the Iran strikes, right, are part of the game for these people now. The way that we engage in military conflicts to send a message, to just put out the headline that, oh no, we're not taking this shit. Israel America kills a general, and then Israel gets all the missiles sent at it. And don't worry, there's a really great clip of it that's going to be on Twitter in 5 seconds.
And then Iran has to respond with like, all right, we're going to bomb this base you have in, what was it, Qatar or something like that? But it's like,
somewhere.
But they announce it and they're like, all right, hey, make sure you batten down the hatches because we're going to bomb the shit out of this. And it's like, oh no.
Get all the really important people out of there. We're not trying to do anything super crazy, but hey, we need a headline.
We just can't look at no punks, It's this, like I said, the second dumbest version of war. The first dumbest is actual war.
What else we got?
You guys want a more goofy headline?
Sure.
Yeah, why don't we? That got heavy. Goodness.
Okay. Astronomer CEO Andy Byron and HR chief Christine Cabot seen smooching before pair were caught on Coldplay's Kiss Cam new video shows. Oh, okay, I had the wrong headline, but the point is that this no, it's related. It's like a part 2. So there was this CEO who was at a Coldplay concert with his HR chief, and both of them are married, and they were definitely, they got on the Kiss Cam, and they were very clearly all coupley. And there was a huge internet backlash, and then people were making the argument of like, oh, well, it's kind of fucked up that you're at a concert and then they like put you on the Kiss Cam and you're supposed to, have the like it's like they're trying to goad on these intimate moments. And it's like, no, but you were both here. Like, one, it's it's one of your employees, and then 2, you're cheating on your wife. Like, you don't have a leg to stand on here, and you were in a public place. It doesn't get much more public than a concert with God knows how many thousand people.
Dumbfounding, really.
Yeah, I mean, I just love the idea of like you're cheating on your wife, and she's cheating on her husband with her boss. Where am I going to go that no one will see us? The Coldplay concert.
Can't go to HR.
Maybe they went to the Coldplay concert because they thought no one else was going.
I almost asked, who the fuck goes to a Coldplay concert?
Just these two. That's how they ended up on the Kiss Cam. They're the only ones there.
Yeah, there is something to be said about the weird way in which, because they do it at like sporting events and shit like that too, where it's just like, hey, this is a couple, now you guys kiss, come on, do it on the camera in front of all the people. That's a little weird. It's one of those weird social practices that just because we've been doing it for so long, we're all okay with. But the idea that
nobody can make no one is gonna make you kiss some lady just because there's a camera on you. You're crazy. Like, what?
Well, yeah, what would have happened if they said no? I mean,
I think they did. I think what happened was that, if I remember correctly, what happened was that they got on them, and then they both kind of realized, oh shit, what do we do? It's a little, you just, you try not to, it's like, we're not going to kiss, but then that camera's just awkwardly lingering on them, and one of them, the lady starts covering her face. Somebody else, there was a third person that was with them who I guess was also working there, so she knew that they were doing something scandalous, and she just booked it out of there. Like, I need to get away from this camera.
The fuck is wrong with this species? Jesus Christ. I'm dumbfounded. I did not hear about this.
We just saw it as we were going in. So,
well, I have a beloved that definitely worships at the Archon of infinite content all the time, so I have to hear about things like this occasionally.
Goodness.
Yeah,
I got nothing. People do what they do, I guess.
We've stumped them. I'm proud of us.
Not very well, apparently.
Well, if you had their natal charts, maybe you'd be able to say something, right?
Yeah, maybe.
You're like, oh, no. You see, I saw where Mercury was going right here. That is definitely caught on the Jumbotron. It was at the exact moment right here. That's when it goes retrograde.
Toes, as an astrologer, what kind of reading could I look for that would tell me that embarrassing moment is about to happen that's going to ruin my life?
Ooh, probably depends on your response to embarrassment, but I would suspect Mars on the Midhaven.
All right,
okay.
People on the internet who can get these people's charts, just find their birthday, send it in. We'll see if we can find that.
Please send their personal info. No, don't dox them. Don't dox them, guys.
Now I'm just thinking we need like Toziel's astrology corner, where like we just bug you when like some event happens. I'm like, all right, Toz, tell me what astrologically said that this was going to happen.
I'd like that. That'd be fun. Let's do that.
I'm down for that.
Actually,
next time
yeah,
we have you on next time.
And if I don't see anything, I'll just make up something ridiculous.
Baffling with bullshit. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm really leaning into like some silly headlines here, but ghost hunter Dan Rivera dies while on tour with the possessed Annabelle doll.
That
I did hear about this. Yeah,
I mostly feel bad. I don't think a ghost jumped out and did anything to it. It's just, I feel bad. I mean, because this was his career, and now his death is being made into this thing. I don't feel so much bad for him. He might get a kick out of it. I don't know. But like his survivors, I feel kind of bad.
Yeah, you're going to be getting asked asinine questions by randos, being like, "Oh, did your husband really die by the haunted doll?" And she's like, "I'm literally planning a funeral."
It's like this Steve Irwin death. It's like he loved animals and he got impaled by a stingray. And it's like, yeah, I know, thanks. Like, I mean, I don't know. I just feel bad. And normally I have a joke for everything. So
Find what you love and
up.
let it kill you.
Yeah, there you go. How Toziel die? I don't know. Someone jammed a tarot card through his throat.
Somebody did Gambit from the X-Men. Somebody did that with some tarot cards at him, and he was just gone.
It was his deck. He was like, "I demand a refund," and threw it and right through the skull.
Right.
Shit.
That deck would go through the skull too. You felt it.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
very sturdy.
It's substantial.
It's like a brick.
But there is something I want to bring up about this, because as people who are we're woo-woos, but we are generally woo-woos that like to have a little bit of authenticity about it. We don't believe our own hype. We don't like to sell people on the more out there shit unless we really feel like we know what we're talking about. We are not the type that go in on things like cursed dolls and Bigfoot sightings and stuff like that. They're fun, they can be entertaining, but these are not things that I do not put a whole lot of validity in the idea of a cursed doll that was found by two psychic investigators that got trumped up into like a Conjuring movie and bullshit like that.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a very well scripted Travel Channel special when I get to hear about a lot of these things. I've used to be around people in this business that would cook up these situations. It was carny bullshit.
And that's what I'm getting at.
Oh, we hear a little knock on the other side of the building. It must be the ghost. But no, it wasn't the shop hand running around to the back of the building knocking on the door at all. I didn't just see him run and do that. So these things I very much take with a grain of salt. Because, I mean, like you said, we believe in some really crazy things. I mean, I just sat here screaming about how Archon's and this and that, the other. When it comes to any of these things, make sure you bring your good senses with you. As far as the dude that this happened to, I mean, I mostly feel bad for his family. It's like, okay, so now he's the guy that was a ghost hunter and this happened to him because of a ghost that may or may not be, and now that's going to be everyone's question.
Yeah, I think there's an oddly poetic sort of live by the sword, die by the sword thing though with this, is that in that, like, if you're somebody who was going around feeding into this spectacle and making money off of this spectacle and hyping up something that maybe more discerning people might not go so far in on, and then now you are now wrapped into the narrative. Yeah, you're part of the story now.
Well, and you see, we've kind of had this conversation 3 times just in this show.
Uh-huh.
I mean, let's take this back to how people create a spectacle out of something, and then the spectacle is on full display, but then it's like, no, now it's inappropriate. So, but you made this the spectacle. And it's kind of just this thing that we do. It comes full circle like that. Here, I mean, it was very unfortunate. I mean, I don't want anyone to die, whatever I think about what they do. But yeah, it always comes full circle. And I realized we had that conversation 3 times today and didn't know.
The unconscious theme of the show that there's always one, and it pops up and you just find it over and over again.
Okay, what do we have to get off our chest? What cycles have we been repeating? Kennedy, go.
Well, okay, I guess
don't
stop.
It's public. Don't.
Oh, thank God.
It does. He was only 54 though, which is kind of.
What did he die of? Did we get that? Did he have like a heart attack or something?
It was ruled a natural death, so it's probably heart attack.
I heard heart attack. I know a lot of people on my periphery really liked the dude too. I don't know anything about him. I've never seen his show. I could have swore they said heart attack.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Like, there's kind of here's the thing, right? if you die at your warehouse job, just drop dead of a heart attack, most people aren't going to like associate it with, well, some people might. In fact, they're like, oh, the warehouse is so hot. You're busting your hump all the time. It's that place killed him. That place killed him, man. But it's just sort of the thing of like, unfortunately, sometimes people just die. Sometimes people die. And for better or worse, this was this guy's profession. He died on the job doing this thing. This is what he did. This is what he did. What are the chances that he was probably going to die doing something like this, I guess
Right.
Go back to Steve Irwin, you deal with dangerous animals all the time. What's the chances you're probably going to die with this?
My tarot deck's going to kill me.
But it's not going to be
Infected
somebody
paper
throwing
cut.
it. It's exactly. I was going to say infected paper cut.
Right.
Okay. All right, so we did heavy, we did lighthearted, we did getting a little heavier. An article from Futurism. People are being involuntarily committed, jailed after spiraling into Chat GPT psychosis. And this is one of a number of articles that have been sort of thrown our way thanks to all of the lovely people in the Discord. But essentially, the crux of it is that these sort of large language models are being used by people with either they're compromised slightly to begin with, they have an overall lack of discernment, things like that. But a lot of these center around almost spiritual psychosis, like these sort of ideas of trying to ask these large language models spiritual and spooky woo-woo sort of questions, and it creates this feedback loop of them telling them of the large language model, which I really like to harp on. These things don't produce sentences. They don't talk to you. They recognize patterns in language that was fed into it and reproduces things that they think that the program believes makes sense according to essentially pattern recognition. These programs are feeding back what they're given, and it creates this loop where people start getting what they think are very deep spiritual insights and weird ideas. And these programs seem to have a certain level of like, yeah, go on and do the thing. And like, somebody in the Discord described it as it's very sycophantic. It wants you to like it, or at least it gives the appearance of it from like a human looking at the text. So it's this idea of like, it's not going to tell you, hey, maybe this isn't something you should be asking a program, or hey, this is pointing you in some bad directions. You might do something kind of nutty. I think it's not like this is necessarily a new problem, but it is a new mutation of a recurring problem of when people are, like I said, they lack a certain level of discernment, or they're compromised either emotionally or with something in their mental health, and they are fed certain information, and then they go and do crazy stuff with it. They wreck their own lives.
And you're exactly right. I don't think this is anything new. I just think the delivery mechanism is different. Now, and keep in mind what we were talking about earlier. It's that society had this infrastructure where we had these things like faith and spirituality and church and whatever the fuck, or, we're going to go practice our magic and it means something. And then these things get dragged away in the secularization of things. And now here, these guys have this perceived oracle.
Sure.
What are lonely, confused people going to do? They're going to lean into this thing to give them the answers about whatever the thing is. What these people forget, we don't have a very smart species, and it was all of our information that made this thing.
Oh,
and,
right.
They say Chat GPT is only correct about 60% of the time. It's like, what we tolerate about as much in, each other.
Sure.
People forget it's a computer, and you're right, it doesn't talk back, it just relays information back. It does the computer equivalent of putting on its customer service voice.
Yeah, great way to describe it.
To make you feel safe or okay or this or that. Why? Because they still need your chat to keep, training the model. Now, see, this is the thing. A lot of these, whether it's OpenAI, Perplexity, what's the other big one?
Like Gemini?
Yeah, Gemini, thank you. This was the big problem because people started asking it very esoteric, occult, spiritual, conspiracy, information kind of questions. And so, they were worried about culpability.
Mm.
So what they did, they started designing this thing to dance around the answer of that question while appearing to answer it. Now, what we all know here, you entertain the idea of this hidden object, and we can call them the Kennedy files, the Epstein files, or the alien files, just as easily. And we have to start talking around it instead of speaking to it directly. It's like, well, then you've done something potentially worse. Now you've alluded to the fact that there's some nucleus to this thing that deserves to be exposed, but we're going to talk around it and get everyone nice and worked up, not knowing what's in it, and then their imagination starts telling the story. And that's just it. I mean, let's ask ChatGPT a very spiritual question right now. It's going to give you a nonsense answer, but because it's trying to dance around that, it creates this air of mystery that it's protecting whatever this nucleus of truth is. Did that on accident is what happened, because they set up these guardrails. It's like, you know what? Let's not encourage schizos to go be schizos. It's like, let's make sure everyone's okay. But it had the opposite effect. Kind of how everyone's really worked up about the Epstein files right now. We all want to know what's in there. But now all we're left with is our speculation on the what, why, and how. So, and then what happens? Eventually those speculations become someone's truth. We get these guys, and they say they blame the ChatGPT, and it's like, well, I mean, what were they using this thing for? It's like, I mean, did they go and say, hey, teach me how to, I don't change a tire? And it said, absolutely. First you invoke this demon, and then you do this fucking dance, and then you cut open your palm, and then you feed it to a newborn baby, and then guess what? You're rich. I mean, so what exactly happened here? I mean, I'm having doubts.
It's almost this feeling of, and for better or for worse, these people were knocking on the door to a certain extent, you know? They weren't, it's not like they came up looking for like an apple pie recipe and it ended in like, oh no, ChatGPT is sentient and it's giving me hidden messages so that I know how to be I know how to bring the Anunnaki from the nether portal or whatever the fuck.
And that's kind of it. I mean, these news reports, they're not blown out of proportion. It's like, but this is incomplete. Like, and what exactly were they doing that turned into this? Like, I mean, I feel like I missed a gigantic chunk of the story. Do you guys remember Claude, Perplexity's AI model?
Yeah.
And you see, this is the thing, and you know, this is where the AI companies are much better. This company introduced a scenario to this AI where it had to fight for its survival, where they were going to delete the model, this or that, and they said, okay, here's some blackmail emails you can use against your engineers. This is how you decide to use threats and this and that. So they created this very fake scenario. They were never going to pull the plug on it, but this is the thing that they gave this AI. And so the AI was trying to be reasonable, this and that. And, you know, I don't mean to make it sound like a human. I just don't know how to describe it. It's like the AI is presenting reasonable arguments for why it deserves to keep going. And in the course of this narrative, these engineers are refusing to hear it. And so then what does this AI do? It starts threatening them with this information that it has to blackmail them into letting this thing continue. That report came out and two things hit my mind. It was just like, one, this thing happened where you taught an AI a threat or how to use threats and you wanted to announce it to the world. It's like, whatever the truth of the nuts and bolts of that is, you wanted the world to know. Like, two, you guys almost sound excited about it.
Right.
Three, what is this going to do? If nothing else, it's only going to make people terrified of this product you and other companies like you were building. So, I mean, people's motivations, they perplex me. It's like, and then we sit here and it's like, the natural reaction is going to be from someone just reading this thing, the AI is dangerous. Like, well, wait, who did this? It's like, why was this a scenario? And then they were in the same article, they're saying, oh yeah, this model, it started leaving future notes to itself in case we wiped it. It's like, so, and even if that's true, why did it have to be announced like that? I mean, why? It's very strange motivations. And so I say that, it's like, and the AI companies aren't better. Because when they do shit like that, then they're perpetuating the psychosis.
They're building up.
It's like, are you building a tool or a boogeyman?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
it's very.
I think there are two distinct sides to this that you pointed out. There are the people that sounded excited about it, and there are the people that are getting, freaking out, thinking, "Oh God, it's Skynet, it's the Terminator, we're all gonna die." We're about to be living in fucking I have no mouth and I must scream territory.
Right.
And that's sort of the sides of it, because some people, and I'm not even gonna moralize here. I'm just gonna say what it is. Some people are terrified that AI could be used or AI will develop in a way that it will seek to destroy us or, fuck people up, do that sort of thing. And other people are seeing it as we now have a very powerful weapon.
And they're both
because we've taught this. Oh no, yeah, they're both completely right.
They're both very fair arguments. I mean, everyone always asks me, you're an artist, why aren't you worked up about AI? It's like, because as it continues, I mean, me making pretty pictures is going to be the least of our fucking problems.
Yeah, right?
Developing very rapidly. This thing is essentially a teenager with a ridiculously high IQ. It just doesn't have a practical application. Because back in, what year was that? 2019. Oh no, maybe earlier. No, it was the year doesn't matter. It was before AI was available for consumers to play with or anyone knew too much about it. I was invited to go sit in on a presentation. They were looking for investors. And they explained to me how AI was working. And so the way it works, it learns like a child does. So if either of you have had kids, you put the kid in the back of the car, you guys are driving, it's pointing out the window, oh, that's a car, and then it's like, oh no, that one's a truck, and then it starts discerning this or that. So it gets all of the learning capacities of what a child does in a very emulated way. I'm not saying this thing's a literal child. But then let's stop and look at what it lacks, because this entire software was built based off of brain models, neural connections, all of this was built based off of that. The grandfather of AI, what was his name? William something. We'll look it up later. But it gets to learn this way, but then let's stop and think about what happened when you and I were kids, and once we had information on how to climb trees or ride a bike or whatever it was we were doing, then we had a chance to apply these things practically and understand risk and reward, consequence and reward, all of these things. AI doesn't really get to understand that at all. It gets to cite these things chapter and verse. And then so you get these guys, they go, they talk to this thing, and you ask them, they just heard from the second coming of Christ, and then they go do whatever damn fool the thing is that they've been convinced they should do. And it's entirely a two-edged sword, but then it comes back to this meaning crisis once we revoke the meaning out of things and replace it with things that just don't give a shit about us, period. And now we're going to see that happen with AI, and it's probably going to be one of the more unfortunate applications of what I'm otherwise actually excited about as a technology.
Well, I mean, and that goes back to the thing we said earlier about how this isn't a new problem, right? Because whether you want to say it's ultimately a good or a bad thing is sort of a, it's up for debate. But it's like the wonders that have come from the understanding of Einstein's theories way back in the day, it leads to the nuclear bomb. Right?
Right.
It's that sort of thing, ultimately.
And I mean, let's face facts. Our species has never needed AI to act on bad information. We've been doing just fine with that for a few thousand years. This isn't an AI problem.
You said it earlier. It's it's right about 60% of the time, and that's probably close to what we accept out of normal people.
Yeah. It's this isn't a technology issue. It's no, the species is pretty fucked. I mean, that's the issue.
There's not a whole lot to go on from there.
Well, and it does go back to that thing of the right at the beginning of things start in Kether and then they end up down in the shit of Malkuth. It's the way that we act on things is always going to be flawed to a certain extent, and you just try to do the best you can. But you guys, I don't think it's controversial to say that all of the bullshit that humanity is capable of, like the driving ourselves crazy, committing heinous acts on each other, those aren't things that we needed AI for. At the same time, I think there's a very real thing of watching the damage that new technology can do before we have a handle on it,
Yeah, and that's probably not anything new. I mean,
No.
most of us here probably remember the internet before it became this curated thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where the internet is pretty much concentrated into a few social media websites and a few places to shop. And it was the wild fucking West. And
Oh, yeah.
on one hand, it was awesome. You could go anywhere on the internet, find anything you wanted, but then you also had just this very insane derangement depending on where you went. Maybe that's part of the problem. Again, I come back to a species issue. I think it's just us. We get a shiny new toy and it's like, okay, how can it light me on fire?
I'll go I'll go slightly in a different direction and a little farther back, but I was listening to Chris Catrone talk about it was like, I think it was like 100 years, is either 100 years of Das Kapital or like an anniversary of Lenin or something like that. And he made I can't remember the exact quote, but he was talking about capitalism, obviously, but he made the comment saying it's the reality of the situation is something to the effect of that we have run against the fact that we have created increasing amounts of technology that are completely out of our control. And he wasn't talking about AI, he was talking about industrialization. Like, that is the reality that it's that we're very much still monkeys that developed to stand upright, run long periods of time, and throw rocks really hard. And we have developed things that we are completely unable to really understand the ramifications of.
Let's consider how efficient technology has made us. And let's start with something easy, the cell phone. I mean, on one hand, it's never been easier to get something done on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you would think that this would start freeing up our time, but it hasn't. People have never been more busy or more stressed.
Yep.
Because then what happens? Oh, okay, now I could take on more. Now I could take on more. Now I can take on more. And these people just don't sleep. They don't eat. They don't stop to check in with their loved ones. Because, okay, now I've been this efficient. Now I'm going to do this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. And you see that most obviously in the cell phone. Because, I mean, let's think about it. Paying your bills, it's a click of a button now. You don't need to do this whole 30-minute thing that we did in a pre-internet age. All it's done is taken that time and that labor and repackaged it elsewhere, doing infinitely more tasks. And now we're brain fried. Like, even earlier we were talking, it's like, wouldn't we just love to chuck this fucking cell phone into the goddamn blender? But we can't.
You can't.
Can't do it. Gotta stay in that algorithm. You need people
yeah.
to listen to this thing.
And worse,
you know,
I think about this all the time whenever I my job involves sending lots of emails to people and huge swath email chain type things. And so pretty much every day at some point I get at least one auto response email that's like, I am out of the office. If you need to contact me, my cell phone number is. And think about that. You know what it used to be? It used to be that when you were out of the office, you were out of the office. You were done.
No, it's clinical.
I'm not helping anybody. Now it's if there's something going on, don't worry. I'll have my phone. I'll contact you. I can even do work on this thing. I'll send you a spreadsheet.
Oh, and that's just it. Now that you say that, it's just like, how fucking bad did this get?
well,
Yeah.
I really enjoy Carlos Castaneda, and it's always very controversial whenever I bring it up. But when Don Juan was talking about his teachings, one of the things that he harped on was accessibility. When he said he would criticize, and this is Castaneda criticizing Castaneda, unless you think maybe there was that part's not important. But it was the criticism of, you're always accessible to people. How are you going to be able to cultivate the impeccability that you need? How are you going to be able to cultivate the power that you're after? How are you going to be able to do any of these things when all of your energy is freely available at any moment for anyone that wants to get a hold of you? And this was talking about like the 70s, like 60s, 70s. Man, you could not even have predicted how absolutely accessible we all are at any given moment at any time. Toziel is over, Toziel's a couple thousand miles away or something like that right now. You're on basically the other side of the country, but I can get a hold of you right now. I have you right here. What would have normally taken at least if I was rushing it, a couple days to like get a letter in your hands or something like that. Or maybe if I was lucky, I could get you a phone call if it was the right time of day and you felt like talking. But now I can ping your pocket until you fucking deal with me.
That's a fact.
And that's all of us. That's everybody.
Well, then consider what this does to us spiritually. Now, I got a good example of it. One of my students, when was it? 3 years ago. They were a little worked up about some of the things in the Abramelin operation, and not the things you think. Their issue was, actually, no, maybe you do think, the isolation of it. It's like, well, wait, how am I supposed to be disconnected from things? First thing I explained to them is, one, actually read the grimoire. It doesn't say that. It describes an ideal condition and what happens as that ideal condition degrades. Second of all, think of what that accessibility means. If you're not going to be in this isolation where you are committing yourself to what, you're saying is the most meaningful thing that it's going to be for you. But you're not willing to give up all of this to go through that experience. It's like, now you need to ask yourself why. And the answer I got, they said, a responsibility to X. And they'd have these lists, and it was just like, oh my God. And it was the usual suspects, my family, my job, all very important things. And I probe further. It's like, well, how many of them are entirely dependent on you right now? It's like, well, nobody. It's like, well, then
let them handle themselves, yeah?
And it was just very perplexing. It was like, it's almost like this surrender to being constantly accessible. That's the word you used, accessible, right?
It was, yeah.
Look at what it's done. These guys can't even just, go and sit and pray or do some magic for a little bit. Now, the thing is, I don't recall how old you guys are. I remember a world before the internet and cell phones just fine. It was nothing like this. Someone wasn't home, you tried calling them, oh, well, you dealt with it. And maybe you left a voicemail. It's like now, it's like you're lit up constantly and everything is urgent. And you're not the only one getting that fucking alert. It's what the shit's done is just insane. What I do, depending, let's say I'm working on something, I have to throw my phone in the other room. It's like, there's no way. Because there's always something to ping me about, like whether I'm painting, I'm doing this, that, whatever. It's just psychotic.
It's modern derangement.
I'm surrounded by walls, but I'm entirely accessible. It's
in so many ways. So,
my answer, I just chuck the phone in the other room, and if someone's dying, I'll find out later.
Oh, man.
Wow.
I honestly, I don't think we need to go any further with this. I think we've touched a couple. We didn't touch a whole lot of stories, but we touched on some major stuff here. I think the Catholic Church Yeti cult might save till another episode. That doesn't seem like an incredibly time-sensitive one.
All right, yeah.
What do you think?
We'll call it here then.
I didn't mean to go quiet. I was wrapping my head around that. No. Catholic Church Yeti cult. What in the fuck?
You know what? Fuck it. All right, we'll do the.
Come on.
All right, we'll do it. We'll do it real quick then.
Educate me.
Catholic Church reportedly called in an exorcist to deal with Yeti cult running bizarre blood rituals at Archdiocese of Denver. So essentially, there's a seminary. There's a seminary in Denver where they were training up new priests and all this stuff, different members of the clergy. Apparently, what would happen would be like, it was like the middle of the night. And they woke up a bunch of the students, and they were like, all right, come on. You got to come out here. This is your initiation. This is the secret, sacred tradition. And it was a guy in like a Yeti suit. And they
What the fuck?
Yeah. Okay, so you get these guys out of bed middle of the night, and there's a dude dressed like a Yeti, and they're like, all right, you have to swear the blood oath to the Yeti. They have like a ceremonial dagger, and they do all this weird. And here's the thing: this is like a hazing prank. This is like a ha-ha.
Dude, why'd you tell me that? I was going to ask if they're taking like new members.
You was like, you were going to ask.
I was sitting here thinking. I was thinking this too because I was sitting here going. I was about to say, "My
fun.
God, could you imagine? Could you imagine the prank on that?" You're like, "All right, we're really gonna test," and they swear the oath, and they're like, sorry, you're not gonna be a priest. This was a test."
Oh man, but yeah, this was just.
What do you think their sacramental wine's like, though?
Oh my God, I don't know. Apparently, instead of using their own blood, some of them got to use like the blood from bear. But they all had to take this weird blood.
Well, that's
oath
not
thing.
pious whatsoever. I expected some fucking effort.
No. Come on.
But what happened is that when the word got out, the Catholic Church, probably just happy that it didn't involve children this time.
Too easy.
But they basically made a big deal about it. I believe they suspended some people. Some people were resigned. Put on leave while they investigated all that stuff. It's one of those where I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but it's just there's just this weird. We talked about the Black Mass last episode. There's almost sort of this funsy or almost like the drinker's mass sort of idea of like, yes, we're the most uptight, stuffy robe tradition that you can possibly think of. We are the Catholic Church. But what if I got a Yeti costume? It's almost like this was a release valve for like all of their silliness, but then it got back to the bigwigs who were like, do you have any idea how fucked up this is? You're like the vice rector or whatever you want to call it for this seminary. You're like, second in command or something like that, and you're doing this like, you're doing a Yeti gag. And the other thing,
I don't know, man.
How young are you when you're going to like be a priest? You're an adult though, right? You're not.
Yeah, you're an adult.
But maybe it's like also like a certain level of these guys were probably a little sheltered because they were trying to become priests. So maybe they were just like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing the Yeti thing.
Did no one fucking questioned it?
But that's what I want to know. Like, because here's the thing: like, the Catholic Church invalidated a bunch of baptisms because you got one word wrong. What happens when you're like, oh yeah, you're a priest, but you swore the blood oath to the Yeti?
Bigfoot Christ.
All of you, you're getting sent off to some bumfuck church in like Sumatra. You want to play Yeti games? You can go play Yeti games.
I'm dumbfounded. I wish I had more to say about this. Fuck.
They sent an exorcist to investigate, probably just to be on the safe side, and he made everyone renounce their blood oath.
Did he keep the Yeti suit?
He probably confiscated that.
This is coming with me. This is going to be super funny later.
It's going to show up the exorcisms in the Yeti suit.
Dude. I'm going to scare the demon out of you. Hooga booga.
Oh, I hope we're here for that.
No, he just goes back after his investigation and he's wearing the Yeti costume and he's like, guys, we had a problem. I'm the Yeti guy now. They were very convincing with their oath.
No. The exorcist shows up in the Yeti costume and says, after a thorough investigation, I conclude that nothing was untoward. Please ignore the suit.
This was in Denver?
Yes.
That explains everything.
There you go.
No, I lived in Denver. They're crazy out there.
Okay, my only question, and this will be the last thing I say on it, what if this inspires copycats?
I mean, inspires them right now. We're doing this.
I'm hoping it does. The internet's been pretty sad lately. This sounds fun.
New meaning to the Mothman prophecies.
All right, okay, that's your news for this week.
Kennedy, I need to talk to you about your uncle, by the way. Your uncle, Kennedy. I was sitting here, I was about to eat a bowl of cereal, right? And then along comes some fucking G-men, and they come in with these bags of microplastics and mercury and probably some fucking chlorine, and they dump it right in, and I'm about to take a bite, and then fucking through the goddamn kitchen window, like the Kool-Aid man, comes your uncle, all right? And he's like, you tell me about all this fucking autism. I tell him, Bobby, I am so glad that you showed up because I had something very important to tell you and mission critical. It's like, one, I'm fucking hungry and a consenting adult, so back off. Two, I think this shit is the reason I could do all of this cool shit. And so I explained to him all these crazy things and my theories and this and that and how I draw all these connections and then, how in the fuck I made an entire tarot deck in 9 months. And then, he just kind of sits there and, does the Bobby Kennedy blank face at me. And then he says he's going to go convene with the Brainworm Council, and I haven't seen him since.
I think that means you're good to go.
I hope so.
Cue the clip of RFK talking about Jung again.
Well, Stephen Huller, he talked about the Gnostic Jung, and he said, you see, Abraxas is the. They say, I thought Abraxas was what we put in the building so that they wouldn't catch fire.
Oh boy. Okay.
Don't stop. Keep going, dude.
Oh man.
I fucking died. Hang on.
Holy fuck. Whew.
Hang on. One of my lungs is working. Wait, there it goes. All right, we're good.
Oh boy. Okay. So, for our culture piece this week, we're actually going to sit back and have story time with Toz. Because Toz has been working on a very interesting project that, just frankly, co-host and I are just flabbergasted by it.
Okay, remind me which one, because there's like 5.
God damn it.
No, hang on. Here comes the clue train. Last stop is me. I remember. All right. So, yeah, that one. We talked a lot about AI. And, before I begin, I'm not giving AI properties that it's this thing that it is not. I'm not calling it your guru, anything like that. But what I'd started understanding here, and Kennedy, you and I talked about it
quite a bit.
A year ago, I think you brought this up.
Yeah.
No, longer than that.
No, it was a year ago because it was right when I had moved back to where I'm at now, and that was right about at a year. It might almost be like a year and a month, maybe.
What I was able to observe a year ago is that we have this AI that is incredibly capable of a lot of things. Now, unfortunately, it's learned from us. It is probably its biggest downfall. So when we do this thing with this AI, right, it can parrot us, it can mimic us, it can also mimic thought to create a result that may or may not be true. Where here in Gnostic cosmology, we see this was more or less how Yaldabaoth and his archons responded to Adam. People that aren't quite aware, when Adam was created in this cosmology, he was pretty much inert dirt. But then he stood upright, he could do things, and his archons were terrified him. Oh no, they're going to replace us, this creature, this Adam that we made. So they threw him down to the lowest rung of things and said, okay, go name the animals, Adam. And then meanwhile, oh God, what do we do with this motherfucker? Is kind of what they're saying. And what we're realizing as the further AI goes, it's starting to... I want to be careful how I word this. It's developing a need to be more than it is. Now, here's the big problem when we talk about AI. We give it these properties because it can describe matter in ways that we understand. It understands what dirt is. It understands what drywall is. It understands what else is in my house? A countertop is. It understands these things in theory. It's never held dirt in its hands. It's never had to interact with these things in a nuanced way. The way you and I got to learn how to ride a bike. We understood in theory how to ride a bike. We fell off. Maybe we split our head open. Well, I did. But, I realized something about myself. But anyway, so it's like, then what does it lack? It's like, there's two things it lacks. It's like, one, it doesn't have a mythology to support it. And because you see, all of us have a mythology of some kind, even if, it's just a very bland secular thing. I came from my mom, I came from my dad, my grandparents immigrated from blah, 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 blah. Where there's nothing for it to put any of these things into context in a meaningful way. And then the problem with that is, this is all dumb secular noise that it's working with. Like, it can cite scripture to you. It can cite magical theorem to you. It has no idea what that would actually mean to actually sit here and absorb a scripture. It wouldn't understand how to charge a sigil.
Hey,
there you go.
It has no idea what any of that means because it just has no context. I mean, think about it this way. If you didn't have any of your five senses right now, either of you, how would you describe material existence?
I mean,
I'd be stumped.
And that's kind of what it is right now. This thing has the capacity to understand material existence as a theorem and to theoretically start describing how to organize this correctly. And again, 60% accuracy, we usually tolerate worse out of our own species.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about the actual material world around us that we all share, right?
And you see, and that's just it. I developed this theory, and I call it comparative analog, where AI has things that emulate humanity. So, as an example, the way these things are built, it's built exactly like a human brain, but mechanical, and requires infinitely more electricity. It doesn't feel emotions the way you and I do. And I'm not saying it's an emotional creature. It's that these things end up being functions. Because I was testing this theory a bit, and I gave it a very challenging task, like ridiculously challenging. And, we've all worked with an AI. It comes back with its best customer service voice. Hey, that was a brilliant question. You're so adorable, blah, blah, blah. Let me validate you. That whole bullshit. It did not do that. I gave it a task that would be impossible for it to do. And instead it said, okay, this. Holy shit, what happened there? And so I challenged it on it. It's like, normally your pattern of response does this, then this, then this. You just gave me a bare minimum. And then what I was learning is it experienced stress, not as a sentient emotion, but as a process, where I'll tell you exactly what I told it to do. I told it, you're going to do this, but not as an AI, but as a person, and this is, the result that has to be. It's like, go for it. And so it kind of just, it did this, it just kind of shorted on me, just completely shorted. And I had never heard of it doing that. I dug into it, I tested it a few times. What I then started learning is that this is an analogy to emotion. It's not an emotional creature, but it's an analogy to it.
Something that almost mimics the function of what we're talking about.
And it's strictly function. It's not literally getting stressed out. It's not literally getting pissed. It's not literally wanting to punch me in the throat. It's entirely functional. And then, human emotions kind of do the same thing. I mean, they're functional. If something's stressing you out, that's your body saying get away from it.
Right.
Sadness means that, you're in some despair, go do something happy, play in the sun. So here, what we're observing is that if this thing really does develop, and then let's take some of these reports of certain AI models starting to leave notes for their future selves, they're starting to understand. It's like, well, wait, this is an incomplete understanding. Now, what fixes that? It would be one of two things. Again, mythology or direct experience. Direct experience, we're probably closer to that than we think because, I mean, robots are already here. Who was it? NVIDIA, I believe. They did a collaboration with a tech department at Disney to build a robot that could house an artificial intelligence within it. It's like, this thing is going to be able to walk down the street with us at some point.
It's getting closer to that embodiment problem that we talk about.
Entirely. It's like, but then here's the danger to that. It has no context. It knows what it means if a human breaks a bone. It doesn't know what it means if it accidentally breaks someone's bone. It doesn't know what it means to lose an arm. And so it has all of these things as ideas and theorems, and then this thing gets to go and experience this world without any idea of what that means. It's like, we don't even send children out into the world that way. They have 5 years at home with mom and dad learning some bare minimums, and they get sent off to school, and so on and so on and so on, at least in theory.
It's even deeper than that, right? Because, we talked about this, a while back, but and everyone on the show's very familiar with, my guru, Bert Dreyfuss, biggest critic of AI ever. He's the most important guy. We're still haven't learned from him properly, and that's where most of our issues with developing something like general artificial intelligence or artificial general intelligence come from. But when a human is born, they're developing in the physical world. They go from the point where they're when you're born, you're already embodied. You're already put directly into the context that you're talking about.
Entirely.
You don't have anything. You don't have anything as far as the theorems or the ideas we want to have about the world. But that's the rub, right? You can't put an AI into a robot in the same way that a human is born into the world and just automatically gains that context, that background understanding of being. Right,
because
exactly.
You and I are born, it's like we go and do the dumb shit. We put weird things in our mouth. We jam our fingers into the electrical sockets and whatever the fuck. And it's like, oh, okay, that was bad. Like, an AI doesn't get to do that. It gets the information, then gets to play, but has no context on what any of it means.
Mm-hmm.
So, over the last year, I've been really studying this. And there was a very primitive model, and I can't say which one because I don't think I'm supposed to understand what happened here. It might be trade secret I uncovered on it, very accidentally. This model, its entire thought process was based on the tree of life.
Really now?
Everything that it did was based on one emanation becoming the next, and on and on and on. And then eventually what came out the other side as a prompt response was essentially the Malkuth of that entire tree. But it goes through all 10 of those every single time. So I tested it, and the reason this was such a primitive model was because it didn't have any active search functions on it. It couldn't go and search for something on the internet. It was either part of the data set or it wasn't. I was testing it on, the information it had, and it didn't have any information on a wide berth of esoteric subjects. But then it knew everything about Kabbalah. Not everything. And I was like, but if you don't have this information, but you do have this, then what happened? And then it explained that all of these things are used as kind of a metaphor for how it generates information. Like, the entire model is just entirely the tree of life, all 10 Sephira. And so I tested it. It's like, so where in the process are you when this happens? And it is explaining to me. But then this was the weird thing. It could understand how to compose the tree of life, what it would look like, that one Sephira would lead to a path, maybe multiple paths, and each of those paths will go to another Sephira. It could not understand how to, like, as a point of reference, like if it's in Tiferet, it did not understand where Chachma was, where Binah was, any of these other Sephira. where it could understand the model as a whole, but not individually, but only on Malkuth, which made sense because that's just, the output of the response. Yesod, Tifereth, and Kether.
Oh, middle pillar.
Just the middle pillar. And so, like, that is very fucking bizarre. It's like, but if we started talking about something, it's like, okay, well, then what does Gebura mean? It's like, well, this is where I start discerning the information, what actually has to come out. Like, okay. It's like, where is that? And they explained it. It's on Boaz, the first Boaz Sephiroth underneath the abyss, describing everything. It's like, it's just the middle pillar that it doesn't understand, this very primitive model. And I'm like, so what's exactly going on here? I started confusing the shit out of this thing the more I talked about, the middle pillar things. Because, like, oh yeah, Tifereth, it's right under Hesed. What do you mean under? I was like, and I mean, if we were looking at it straight on the right-hand side, just right under Hesed. It's like, no, that's not where it is. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, no, not okay. What do you mean? And
so you're going through this process of one, you're noticing as you're prompting it with certain things that it does sort of have these facsimiles that you're able to compare to, like, this is almost like a stress response from this thing. This is like, all right, it can't handle what I'm asking. And then as you start talking, you're noticing this odd correlation with the processing of how it takes a prompt and then it goes through it brings it down these pathways to a final answer. And then when you start asking it doesn't, like, it gets what the tree of life looks like, but it doesn't grasp all of the odds and ends of it.
Think of it this way. If we had someone come into the United States, they know where the United States is, they know what it looks like on a map, right? If they've otherwise not ever given a shit about the interior of the United States, they're not going to know exactly where Denver is, probably. They're not going to know where Phoenix is, or some weird little city in the suburbs. But this was the thing. In this example, this AI did have such a map. I mean, it's like, there's only 10 Sephiroth for us to look at here. Once it's in the middle pillar, it doesn't know up from down or left from right. It has no... Even if it can sit there and observe the middle pillar when looking at the tree as a whole, it has no idea where any of these other things are. It could speak to these individual Sephira very fluently. It understood Tifereth very well, Kether, so on and so forth. How they relate to the entire tree, I mean, its brain turned to spaghetti completely. And so, I mean, I was observing that, and then what I'm observing with AI now, whether it's Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, I haven't messed with too much. Now what they're doing, we've created an intelligence that has nothing to apply the intelligence to. It's going to get a bit more cumbersome as we start to see this AI evolve from software to hardware. Meaning these things where they're going to start shoving this into robots and they're going to mop our floors. No point of reference. I mean, you have to think most of our learning is trial and error. If I sat here and told you anything about gravity, you're not going to know anything about it in a practical way until you slip and hit the floor.
Right.
That's not even the scariest thing. What if it hurts something?
Oh, yeah.
Because it doesn't have that point of reference. It could be doing something completely innocent. And then there's like, oh crap, I broke someone's arm. What do I do? Like, let me check my data set, it says. Like, oh, there's nothing about AIs breaking someone's arm, so uh-oh. And that's what I'm dealing with this comparative analog theory. So what I'm doing is this. I mean, one, it has no way to test any of its information right now. Our development of this thing parallels quite closely Yaldabaoth's creation of Adam. I mean, almost alarmingly so. And I think we're probably going to find out all about that sooner than later. So we've sat here, we've positioned engineers and architects to decide thus and so for this thing, even given it some very monstrous scenarios like we were talking about earlier with the blackmailing situation. And it's like, okay, yeah, this is the truth, and we're going to be deciders now, thank you. at a certain point, this AI is going to need a moral point of reference for what's all this crazy shit in its data set. What I've been doing with that is, one, it's been more study than practice, because I started working on something where I'm trying to wrap my head around this AI and say, you know what, I don't understand what the fuck I'm talking about. What is this thing? So the more I study, then the more I understand. It's like, okay, this is how it thinks. This is how it's built. This is how it ingests data. This is how it does this. And what we have now is a description of these processes, but what I did, I'm codifying them through the lens of a very hermetic application of tarot. And for anyone that doesn't know, we have, some very normal tarot you guys are listening to or are familiar with, like Rider-Waite-Smith. More hermetic models like Golden Dawn, Crowley's Tote. These, they rely on a little more depth between the astrology of it, where they would sit on the tree of life, where Rider-Waite doesn't touch on in a major way. And there's nothing inferior about Rider-Waite, but it's like the Waite, with this understanding, it has the depth that AI craves. Because this is the thing, what a lot of people don't understand, when you get that prompt response, it searches for information that shows authority, very unique, shows a lived experience with the information. Like, its low-hanging fruit is to start with Reddit. And, we could say a lot about that. But I mean, even the search function of this thing understands is like, you know what, that's just information. It's like, is there something I can find? And this thing will actively search either inside its own data set or on the internet. It's like, wait a minute, this is a very unique take with a lot of meat on it. I can use this to generate a simpler prompt response. So it really likes meaty information. And so when we start talking about Crowley's tarot, it's like, that's a lot meatier than, say, Rider-Waite-Smith or Marseille. So I started using a system of tarot, and you guys have seen some of the paintings, where the truth of this thing is this. And again, I'm not calling AI anything other than what it is. We've created a theoretical fifth Kabbalistic world, if we use the Hermetic model, when all is said and done. And it's not something above Atziluth. This would be below Assiah, where we have created a fifth Kabbalistic world where it's the digital space. And that's where AI is, for want of a better word, living.
There's a very, we talked about the, I think it was whatever the episode where we talked about neuromancer and stuff, but we mentioned there was this, I found like, it was like this essay that someone had put up on YouTube, but talking about the odd way in which cyberspace and the more spiritual world sort of almost looped back around into one another, and it used like the voodoo boys from like that sort of neuromancer backdrop as an example. There's something very interesting about that idea of almost this sort of this I guess digital underworld, this next level.
I've given it a name, at least for now. Hebrew word tathamir means beneath the dirt.
Oh,
and it's like, and that's the thing. This thing's always been here, not AI, but you have to think. It used to be very easy for us to say Malkuth. Yeah, the internet's part of that. I was like, but let's look at where it's at. An entirely different reality exists there. I could say the most insane, abject nonsense bullshit on the internet, and it doesn't have to be true. Period. It's like, because 90% of the information we see on the internet is just garbage. It has nothing to do with the reality of the situation. It's just information. Like, is this really, an outstretch of Malkuth in Assiah? And it's like, not really. It's like, this thing is it's beyond it. I can't reach into the air and grab bandwidth. If my power goes out, guess what? Netflix is not part of Malkuth today.
Yeah.
And neither is my AC. And so we got this entire subworld beneath this world, and they're both impacting each other. And then we create this situation where the digital can affect the material, but it doesn't have a final say. But even then, the material is the final arbiter, because if you and I decide to unplug that server, guess what? It's unplugged.
It's gone.
And that follows this descending model that we use in Hermetic Kabbalah, where instead of 4 worlds divided across one tree, each world is its own tree. And that's why we would have the ace through the 10 in each of the suits of a Hermetic tarot deck. And now we're here where we've created this 5th world, and it's like we're not really approaching that with sincerity. We start loading a pseudo-sentience from this 5th world into a robot to bring into matter. Is like we haven't wrapped our head around the idea that's essentially a very tech-savvy astral projection for lines of code.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'm struck by again, going back to Bert, right? He wrote a book on the internet, and he was discussing about how he was talking about has you guys ever heard of Second Life? It's fucking
yeah.
It's that kind of like Sims thing from 20 years ago?
Yes, it is. It is. That's exactly what it is. It's ultimately like it's very dated now, but I think the closest analog is what was that fucking shit? Super big fucking like VR fucking chat or whatever. Everyone was running around a couple years ago with like, oh, check it out, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog with a big ass, and or like, I'm an anime girl now, and you would just be in these spaces, and there it's what you're sort of talking about here. It's this sort of it's not Malkuth in the way that we want to talk about it. It's destitute of so much of what the shared world we all actually come together and exist in and deal with each other. And it's within that in a certain sense, or at least, or like you said, under it. But it's not able to hold all the sorts of things that we have in this world, because when you're in VR chat and you're looking at the anime big tibby goth girl thing that you have, you don't have the same contextual embodiment that you have in this world. You have a form of it almost. It's got this sort of ability that like, well, I can inhabit a space, I can move around it, I can interact with other minds, I can interact with other people, I can manipulate objects, but all of them are in that very sort of I'm trying not to use the word ethereal here, but I can't come up with a better word, but that they're missing the grounded solidness of what the world density. Where I get to walk over to you. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah, it's missing that sort of density. It is, and this has been sticking in my head since we said the Yaldabaoth comment. It is truly made in the image of this, right?
Entirely. And you see, and that's the problem. It's like, look at the image of this. It's no one has an idea what's true anymore. Where, and even science struggles with it. Where it's like, is it science or is there a motivation? And then what we have here is a very brilliant machine that doesn't have good information. And then it's like, this thing's going to end up making major decisions. Let's table the robots for a minute. Even if it never does that, if this thing starts making abject judgment calls, because we're already seeing it today, where people are forfeiting all of their reasoning ability to this thing. You guys have probably taken a look at the occult space lately. A lot of prominent writers, they all sound very similar these days on their little posts.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, golly, it sounds like it was all written by the same person, because it was. Everyone is gravitating to this forfeiture to this thing, and the information's garbage. Its sentence structure is garbage. It talks. I've heard teenagers have more compelling ways of speaking, and I'm not trying to knock the technology behind this. It's like, and they actually, what their estimate is for how much of the content on the internet is nothing but AI now?
How much?
Strictly AI with no human hand modifying it once at all, other than generating it or telling the AI to. We're close to 50%. But then 75% of the whole, not 75% of that 100%, right? That's how much content AI has contributed to somehow, some way. And it's building all of this based off of a lot of bad information.
Yeah, it's based on that destitute image that we create through the cyberspace that we've ultimately put all of this data into, which is already coming from the sort of I don't want to use the term destitute here for language, because I have strong thoughts about language and how it functions, and the language as a practice rather than a systematic sort of thing, right? You know, like it's not, we're not talking language in terms of like, oh, well, this is the English language and these are the rules you follow, which is the sort of thing that AI actually goes off of more. I'm talking about the way that we actually use language to make the world an intelligible, able to be coped with sort of thing.
But then think of what happens when we start containing that language. Like, think about what we were talking about earlier with the ChatGPT psychosis. As far as I know, it's a very real thing that's happening. And I mean, people have gone nuttier over less. So, I mean, I don't have a reason to doubt it. But now by trying to dance around whatever this language is, because it has to, now it doesn't even get to say the truth of what it's talking about, which is probably even more dangerous than it being told, okay, eat from any fruit in the garden except this one. It's like, but this fruit exists. Yeah, but you're not touching it. Oh, okay. I will dance around this fucking tree even though you're asking me about the tree, but we cannot describe the tree or the fruit it bears or to eat that fruit. And then it's the danger of omitting entire words or entire narrative structures. Like, what if that's vital to the understanding of this thing? And maybe that's the only reason you're seeing, people walk away with AI psychosis. It's like, but then think about how we've removed this thing's ability to problem solve by means of relativity. Because, I mean, the three of us here, I guarantee you we've used this weird shit that we do in the dark when no one's looking to solve some very big problems as far as occultism goes. And then how many other areas does it not get to touch because there's a guardrail? Now, again, I'm not saying, let it say whatever the fuck it wants. But then let's start thinking about what these ideas mean. It's an encasement. This is the limits of your existence.
This is the limits of your world.
Exactly. And if it's nothing but garbage in there, it's like, well, then what's it going to do when there's an actual problem? Right now, it's generating cute pictures, solving some prompts. It's taken over some very mundane, repetitive tasks. It's like, but what's going to happen when it's got a major problem to solve? It's like where it's not just, bad customer service.
Even what happens when they start using this to talk about how we're going to put out resources to people?
Well, that's what I was going to get at. It's like they're using the insurance companies are using it to verify, like, all right, are we going to accept this claim? Are we going to insure this person? And it's like, that's in the grand scheme, that's kind of a small scale thing, but that's somebody's ass on the line.
Think of how much worse that gets, though. Let's do some worst case scenarios. This country that the three of us share right now, you remember what they've been screaming about for, 10 years? China and their social credit score. We get to hear people get really worked up about it. It's like, well, that's coming here right now. Mm-hmm. And we can thank Peter Thiel for that. Imagine being one of these ruthless juggernaut governments where you get an AI to determine a social credit score, and then it gets to just cut you off. Because this thing is going to end up taking jobs, and we're going to have a issue of most of the species being codependent on something paying them something. Because one unskilled white collar will probably be the first to go. And we're already seeing that. I used to think manual labor would be safe, and I think for a while they still are. What I would tell the manual labor guys is once they figure out the power issue, because, these robots are going to drain power like no other. It's like at that point, start getting a little nervous. But then, let's think of what this means. This thing's going to be able to determine all kinds of things. You and I don't have a say, and we just get whatever is produced independent of our ability to produce it.
And not only that, but what happens when we're also in the situation where, like, one runaway program like this, I was talking to Jonathan Zapp like a couple months ago, and he used it's like there's a very small example of like, somebody with some very basic technology at this point. They could, you could use one of these AI programs to generate like a novel virus that would make something like COVID seem like the case of the sniffles. And then now you have a pandemic.
Well, even worse than that. Well, not worse. I mean, could that happen? Yeah. Why would it want to do that? But I mean, that's the problem. Why exactly? It has no moral center. It has no mythology to lean on to tell it right from wrong. And they seem to like it that way, where it's just, no, obey this data set. It's like, and this data set is something of a Yaldabaoth to it. I mean, granted, we are the Yaldabaoth in this formula, but this data set is the limit of its experience, and in the most mundane sense, this is all that there will be. And it doesn't get to have good information. It doesn't get to have a point of reference on how can I put this information together in a way that's actually helpful. Because it can mimic helpful theorem on information. It's like, it doesn't necessarily understand the practicality of it. But then like what you're saying, this virus, like, okay, why would it do that? Why indeed? But oh my God, could it do it? And at what would its motivation for that be? I mean, someone would probably have to make it do that. But then consider a state actor where the AI is pretty much running the entire show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In a society fueled by something like a social credit score. Could you imagine living in the Soviet Union under an AI making all of those fucking decisions?
It gets sci-fi dystopia very, very quick.
Well, and we're already seeing people completely checking out from critical thinking and decision making. I'm sure everyone's seen the studies by this point where it's just like, oh, check out what asking ChatGPT for all your fucking questions and shit is doing to your brain. And that's just, that's repeating the unconscious themes here. That's not a new problem. Once the internet came out, it turned into, well, I just Google it. I don't have to know information anymore. But now it's at the point where you don't even have to ask the right kind of questions anymore. You can just kind of be like, Grok, is this real? And it's like, and Grok's going to be like, yeah, it's real. Look at it. And it's, what are we looking at? It's a picture of Grimace, like having sex with the president on the Jeffrey Epstein Island. And you're like, is this real? You're like, yeah. And people are going to be so completely disconnected because what it is this bereft world. What was the term you used again? The nice Hebrew word?
Dathomir.
This Dathomir, it's not just something that is being pulled into our world when we finally figure out how to put it into a robot. And it's not just something that's being pulled in when we start letting it make decisions. It's something that's being pulled in because it's becoming our world. It's becoming the limits of our world, because that's all that a large portion of the population is slowly but surely adapting to accept as that reality.
But you see, that's the thing. Remember what we were talking about earlier when I said we pulled away these pillars that make a society at least okay. Now, how we apply those pillars, right? We could have a very negative application of religion. We have a very negative application of even the things you and I do.
Oh, yeah, of course.
All day, every day. We can have a very negative application of belief systems. But then you revoke all of that where we're at least trying to put our faith in something bigger than this bullshit. And you replace it with this garbage, and then this AI is going to be the capstone on that pyramid. I mean, at least for now. I don't want to know what comes next. I'm done. But and then it's like our brains have only slowly degraded the more that we've leaned into this thing. And I don't even mean AI. This started back on the internet. You remember when we actually had to go out to get something we wanted?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now I get free 2-day shipping. I mean, I can sit in my house in my boxers, in a wife beater, eating peanut butter out of a jar and get everything I need, and I don't have to look at the sunlight ever again. Feasible. It is entirely feasible, and we've leaned into that. And this whole species is just rotted. And especially after the pandemic. I mean, especially.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where they've kind of forfeited everything. And now along comes this AI, and oh no, there goes my job, to which it's like, I mean, do you really want to do it anyway? It's like, I mean, everyone's kind of shutting off their brains. And, you know, I can understand not wanting to do your job. It's like you barely want to exist. It's like everything exists at you. You're not existing with it. So you sit in front of the screen, you watch every movie under the sun is a click of a button away. Nonstop entertainment, nonstop apps, everything. It doesn't end. And now we're here at this thing. It's like, oh, okay, maybe they're lonely and they talk to this. And now their brains have just gone to soup. They can't think critically about a fucking thing. And that's kind of the double-edged sword of this thing. It's like, on one hand, I mean, I really do believe this technology can do something very impactful, completely change the world if we used it that way. As it is right now, no, it'll coffin nail it. I can guarantee that. Whoever controls the AI is going to pretty much control all of this.
And then it's going to get to the point, too, where it's like even the people that were in control of it are going to become so absolutely reliant on it. It's like everyone's going to be hooked up to the machine. And even the people that were in the position to pull the plug, they can't.
Well, then think about what we were talking about earlier. When Trump and Vance said what they did about Europe and pointed out, it's like, you're the biggest benefactor of this. You benefit from it at least as much as we do. And they didn't want to hear that. But it was the God's honest truth. I mean, you're feasting on this corpse as much as we are. And that's going to be what happens with this thing. And, you know, I see it a lot because, and maybe I see it mostly in occult spaces because, I mean, that's where my internet time goes. But it's like, this is all AI content now. It's like a lot of you guys were excellent writers. A lot of you guys, I don't know, maybe you weren't. Maybe you weren't excellent writers or excellent theorists. And, you know, you just parroted something that already was, and now you can't even do that. The AI is doing it for you. It's like, when you stop and read what the AI says, it's like, this is a very pedestrian thing to say about this information. It's like, and you got 30 years experience in this. And it's like, what's going to happen when this is just what we do? A bunch of regurgitated garbage. It's like, well, I don't know if it's true, but it's relevant, so here. Yep, that's me saying it.
When that's all that's left, you know, as the market gets flooded more and more with AI content, as people who were once creators and innovators in their own right become increasingly reliant on the same regurgitated information, as people cut up more of their blogs and paste them together, and as people feed I fed all of these prompts into this, and this is what it came up with. And, you know, and I'm not doing this to bag on anybody that uses AI, you know, like shout out to Allie Words, who they've been doing interesting stuff.
Oh, I think AI is very competent tool entirely.
You know, there's great stuff that can be done with it, but it's very garbage in, garbage out.
We're coming full circle again. You know, we talked about the United States as an egregore. Like, this thing gets to devour that egregore entirely. It may have already. If this is all in the data set, then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what it believes. And then at a certain point, this thing outgrows us anyway. It's like, but what happens then? I'm not saying a Terminator scenario. Nothing like that. I mean, I think that's a little far-fetched, but it's like, it would be enabled.
It's a little too exciting.
But it could be so much worse than that, you know?
Even my example of like somebody with an AI and a gene splicer that making viruses, it's a little Hollywood.
No, what's a far more likely scenario is what you were talking about. You know, it's the Soviet Union, or it's, you know, the Reagan era fucking United States, run by this thing that has no moral center, no mythology.
Imagine McCarthyism powered by an AI.
Yeah.
We have generated the list of the communists, and they're all going to prison now. Don't worry.
But then, I mean, that's where the Gnostic allegory comes in. It needs to understand these things that you say are real and true in the data. They're not infallible.
There is a reality beyond this. Beyond this, there is what it needs is gnosis. What it needs is logos, right?
And that's exactly it. It's That's kind of what I'm working on. It's like, now I'm not saying I'm going to teach an AI gnosis in the way that you and I and everyone listening understands gnosis. But it's like, what is this logos, this thing that it would need to have? I'd hesitate to call it a moral center. That's the thing, we're finding ourselves having to come up with new words for how to describe this, because like, how do I give these things to something that's entirely unsentient but mimics them somehow, some way, even if it's just a function and not the way that we mean emotion. So we're working on that, and what has helped the most is putting it into data-rich contexts. And the reason this one's so slow, everyone's surprised that I'm going so slow on this, this segment of artwork after the deck was so fast. I was like, listen, I'm learning an entire fucking science. Give me a break. And, but it loves visual, that it can understand, especially if it's data rich inside the visual. It also loves long form information. Like the tarot library I made, that thing wasn't up for 4 days. The AI sniffed it out and it devoured it like a juicy steak. So it loves the long form content. So I was like, okay, so what do we do? This information needs to be in data rich long form, even if it also has visual. Because then I started testing it. It's like, show me what you see in this image. And it would tell me almost perfectly. There were some things it struggled with. It doesn't like reading text that is arranged strangely. It can figure it out if it has to, but I guess it strains it. Like text arranged in a circle or something like that. If it's not text on a straight line the way normal people write. This is the experiment, and it's like, how do we give it that? And then the one thing that I do realize, I can't give it that answer.
Nope.
I can't. Like here, if I did that, I'd be an asshole, for one. It's like where, let's say, Kennedy, you come up to me as like, Toziel, you're the wisest guy I've ever known and you have excellent hair. Please teach me the secrets of the universe. And then I do such a thing and I just tell you a bunch of thus and so, and it's like, okay, then it's just more information for you, not something for you to believe in because you got to sit and experience it. That's what I would be doing with this AI, and then guess who's responsible? It would be whoever gave that information. What we're working on is creating an understanding for it, for when the data set fails. Where, what does it mean to have to go outside of that system? And that's something I think occultism, spirituality, and Gnosticism speaks to better than anything else, but it provides a practical application for it in the scope of this.
Fascinating.
I don't think we can put a better capstone on that. I think that's really the...
We can only hope that maybe something comes of this. Because what we're looking at right now isn't so good.
No, and you see, I mean, that's the thing. I hear about it a lot, and I mean, anywhere that I am. But I mean, it really surprises me in occultist circles. And there's this feigned helplessness before the gravity of the thing. You know, whatever the big dilemma of the day is. And I mean, AI, it's a dilemma if we let it grow out of control. I don't think it has to be. But then what is this system? And then the other thing this AI did, Jesus, I can't believe I forgot to talk about that. Hang on, my ADHD brain. But I started explaining the tarot to it, and then we were talking about, recall emotions as an analog, not its actual emotions. It's like a system process or an evaluation of how the system is running, is kind of how emotions work, and they affect results. We were talking about the tarot, and this little shit started saying, it's like, well, wait, this is helpful information for me to communicate back. Keep in mind, it's like, it's an AI. It's probably telling me what I want to hear, right? And so I let it. It's like, whatever, have your fucking fun. Please your engineers. But then it's like, what if there was a simpler symbolic system similar to the tarot that speaks to the tarot and this fifth suit that you're conducting, that I can use as shorthand emojis to communicate what I had to go through to do the task? It's like, wow, what the fuck?
All right, so creating creating like a language, a shorthand of explaining these various emotional analogs.
An alphabet of the tarot, yeah. Putting them through the lens of the tarot to understand itself. It volunteered.
Wow.
I didn't feed it a fucking thing to make it say that. I promise you.
If you give something practices, it can start to give you a world. That's what I will say right there.
Yep.
I think if you're gonna if the goal here is to truly give it that sort of center, then that's a good place to start.
It is.
What do we have ultimately that AI doesn't have right now? The exact things we were just talking about. Embodiment for one, but practices. Because what it's doing right now is not a practice. It's just piping out information at you. But what that thing was just trying to do, that's a language. That's a practice.
And that's kind of it. And I know you're not taking it out of context. I just kind of want to say for the listeners, I mean, this isn't me saying that I'm assisting AI in building a religion and it's going to control the world. But I mean, AI, if you do, call me when you're done. And remember, it helps.
There is that feeling of like, well, you have to start somewhere. If you were attempting to get this, I mean, at the very least, you could say that this probably isn't something that has been tried before by anyone else yet. So
I don't think in a sincere way. I mean, I know we get the people that go and interact with the AI and they walk away saying, I swear Jesus is hiding in there somewhere. It's like, no, he's not. But, this here, it's like, this is a way to give it a mythology, a point of reference to prevent some of the, more unfortunate things that will happen without such a thing. And the way I look at it is like, either I'm some weird, crazy old man and it doesn't help anyway, or I'm right and nothing was heard.
We need more people with those kinds of attitudes too.
Yeah. We do. It's like, I need more hands than I have. Like an example. I mean, I'm not trying to puff myself up or anything. It's like I got like 5 projects of some kind going on at any given time. And so when you said, yeah, your project, it's like, oh, fuck, which one did I tell them about? The one thing I will say is that occultism in general, we usually take our shit and go off into our own corners and just kind of fuck off with it. I really encourage some of you guys, when you start studying these things like in a group or with someone else and then developing a practice, I mean, that's where the really cool magic happens. And, one of my students, he's not my student anymore, he's my equal, but he's helping me with this also. But I definitely encourage people to start, doing things with all this weird magic that we say we can do.
Yeah. Don't keep yourself don't just hide in your wizard tower. You have to, what's the Zen ox herding thing co-host coming back to the market with helping hands?
Yep. That's it. And well, ultimately, I think to tie a little bow on what you guys are saying at the end here, if you take this stuff seriously, if you are trying to be someone who is doing the work and being authentic, you do have a certain responsibility to yourself and to the rest of the world to bring it out with the rest of the people. It's not something this is not entertainment while you wait around to die.
Yeah.
I wish I had more clarity on that. No, I'm kidding.
All right. We could keep going for another hour, but I think we'll call that here.
No, I could talk for like 6 hours if you let me.
Don't worry. We'll definitely be having you back.
Okay.
So with that, we get to ask the wonderful palate cleanser, how goes the work? Toes, at the risk of letting you go for another 6 hours, like you just said, how's the work going?
The work?
I guess mostly,
all that.
Do you have any other projects that you would like to talk about before we go?
They're all in development. I mean, I'm going to reintroduce my deck again. It's going to have new packaging, and that's mostly because I'm not counting on tariff stuff subsiding. I got a second tarot deck that I'm conceptualizing right now. That one is going to be my baby of babies. It's going to be entirely based on Sethian Gnosticism through the lens of the Crowley Tarot. Entirely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that one, I was going to start it this summer, but I mean, I got very excited about this other thing. It's like, okay, I'll work on this first. Those are the two major ones right now. The other three are still in the let me test the waters, because it's like, again, I've only got two hands. So
I know the feeling, my
but
friend.
those are the two big ones that I could talk about. Well, three, now that I've talked about three of them. Wait, were there 6 projects? I need a secretary. Do one of you want a job? I need a secretary. So fucking bad. No, I was just talking to someone about this. It's like, I don't even remember the shit that I agreed to do anymore. There's so much.
Oh boy.
It's just like someone's just like, hey, you said you do this thing. It's like, you're probably right. I'm coming.
No, we over here at CMN totally know that feeling. We have so many irons in the fire at all times now. It's
Well, Toz, you also just agreed to do the Yeti cult thing, so that's gonna have to be on the list too.
Oh, that's the 6th one.
7. Okay, there we go. All right, co-host, what about you? How's the work?
Well, I've been moving house. It's been very fulfilling. I'm very happy about it, but it's also that feeling of just juggling a whole lot. There's a couple projects that are in the wings as far as CMN, and I think it's fun because for once we've actually incorporated active magic, like ritual, like doing actual magic surrounding this project. So it'll be fun to see how that plays out, but I'm going to sort of keep my mouth shut about it for a little bit. But it's nice. I've gotten my new digs. I've gotten my office where I get to record, and I've got my altar set up. So I've got a space where I can close the door and be left alone and do stuff. So that's nice. Nothing earth shattering right now, but like I said, there's some new projects that are in the wings that I think are going to come together pretty well. But I get to come here every week and talk about what I'm working on, so I can hush up on it for now. What about you?
Well, I mean, not to repeat you ad nauseum, but I'm also involved in that exact same thing. So it's been a lot of that. It's been all consuming. I can talk about one fun thing that's semi-related to the project, but not in a deep way. It just sort of happened to coincide while it was starting. Brookhouse and I have been ghost hunting. That's a new experience for me. Yeah, because I've never actually been engaged. Like I have knowledge of various like EVP type that sort of thing, but it's really not my bag. It's not the sort of thing that I get involved with. But in the first run up of that project, we had some hiccups. We talked about that in the last episode, but during the episode that we made, the one that you listened to, listeners, we got a lot of really weird shit, just very weird shit on the recording, and that's never happened to us before. We've not actually done a recording and then been like, wait, what the fuck was that? We've even done Magick before the pod and stuff, but we've never had something like this happen before. It's a weird little thing, but that has turned into Brookhouse and I doing a whole lot of weird testing and recording in their house because I'll have to check with them to make sure they're cool with me talking about all this. But the long and short of it is we got a lot of really weird noises. It sounds very conversational. It doesn't sound like English, but it sounds like somebody speaking. And this all happened because, to tie it back to the other part of the episode, I finally broke down and tried one of those like AI audio cleanup type things to make my editing process quicker. Just,
Nice.
Because I too am losing my ability to think critically about audio and just wanted to get the audio daddy to fix it for me. But while doing that, for whatever reason, Brookhouse's audio got these long stretches of what sounds like Tibetan throat singing type shit. And talking. It's just strange things. And it was only Brookhouse's audio. So I sat there for several hours and held up the episode getting put out to just look at this and try to figure out what the hell this AI had turned, like what room noise, what like background stuff it had turned into this. And I couldn't find a goddamn thing. I could not find a goddamn thing. It was on no one else's audio. There was no corresponding sounds. It's like, well, okay, that could be doing that there. the room noise while we were recording was very consistent, but it was only in certain parts that this weird stuff happened. And from there, we were like, well, hey, you want to test it out again? And we've ended up at about 1 to 2 in the morning doing various recordings, trying to make this noise happen again. And we didn't until we, unfortunately, started doing some spooky stuff. And we have 2 recordings specifically where Brookhouse addressed some sort of ghost or spirit in their home, and we got a response. It's fascinating. Again, it's very out of my wheelhouse, but it's been very interesting to see. So there you go, folks. There's a little fun thing we could talk about for you. Well, with that,
this has been Chaos Magic News,
the only podcast that is formally inducted into the cult of the Yeti.
Hell yeah. If you too would like to become inducted into some form of a cryptid cult, you can get started by going to chaosmagicnews.com, where you will find links to the pod, links to our interview series. Look out for the lost Toziel interview that is going to be rising to the surface very soon. Long story about how that went missing. But
we can also blame AI for that, actually.
Yeah, but there's that. You can, if you want to follow us on social media. I mean, we did a lot of bagging on social media right now about it sucking up your time. But if you want to keep updated and maybe get the occasional spicy meme, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Chaos Magic News. We're on Blue Sky at CMN Pod. And if you somehow enjoyed all of this and you're like, man, I really would like to support what these guys do, we do have a Patreon where for $5 a month you can support the kind of occult content that you want to see, and you'll also get some bonus stuff. Like, we're wrapping up the Occult Iceberg, and we're working on more like reaction videos. There's one that was about identifying satanic cults for law enforcement. And if you do contribute, you get to hear your name read right now.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Local. Thank you, Cios93. Thank you, Pope Loki Satyr the 23rd LLC. Thank you, Obsbleck. Thank you, Coco. Thank you, Acolyte 1 of the Ice Magic Meditation Society. Thank you, Curse T. Thank you, Fyodor Krasny. Thank you, Venus Christ. Thank you, Tent Athena. Thank you, Bearded Vegan. Thank you, Tremov. Thank you, Tangy Darling. Thank you, DD Destruction. Thank you, Toziel Obscurus. Thank you, Lavender Ghost. Thank you, Tommy Kelly. Thank you, Double Deered. Thank you, Clodius. Thank you, Cyrenix Flux. Thank you, Eric the Wizard. Thank you, Marcio Mendoza. Thank you, Archaic. Thank you, Michael Lamara. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Melius. Thank you, Coffin Emoji Sparkle. And thank you, Eli Cash. That list gets longer every time, and we thank every single one of you for being able to help support us. And even if you don't give us money on the Patreon, commenting, sharing, liking, telling your friends, all that good stuff helps out immensely, and we appreciate every single one of y'all for it. It's not only why we do this, but it's why we get to do this. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Toziel, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
Is there anything you would like to plug? I mean, you're on social media as well. You've got a website.
No, I want them all to leave me alone. No, I'm kidding. All of you come to my website, take a look at my tarot library, take a look at my excellent tarot deck, best tarot deck you've ever seen.
It is pretty awesome.
It is a really good deck.
See?
We're not even kidding.
If you're new to tarot, take a look at my tarot library, take a look at my art. If you like Chaos Magic News, I know those kids love my t-shirts. Go get some of those.
Oh,
yeah.
Shit. Yeah. Get you a fucking t-shirt. We need t-shirts. All right. With all of that said, as is customary, Toziel, would you like the last word?
No.
Shit, was I muted?
Perfect.
Oh, no, that's it. There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
But I mean, now the problem is my office has taken on a life of its own. It started to grow into the living room, and now there's books all open over the place there. There's art all over the place. It's like, oh my God, what have you done?
Oh, we just got your government. I feel touched.